starts with you. Facts still matter. It starts with you.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Hump Day. Happy Wednesday, March 4th, 2026, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. News and weather together. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. We know you got many, many choices to make every single morning, and we're always super grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. So thanks for being here. You know the drill. Do all the good things direct from the Eric Ashante merch store. Check that out. Tapping is clapping, liking is loving, sharing is caring. Please consider joining our team. You know how to do that. It helps us get to the FYP. It helps you. The algorithm is looking for activity, so the more you can engage, the better. Again, tapping is clapping, liking is loving, sharing is caring. There is a gifting goal today. Please help us there as well. We had a great day yesterday. Thank you all for your kindness and your contributions towards our 25K Do Something Tour goal. We sit at $5,595. Thank you all for that. If you'd like to support the channel, if you'd like to support our tour, you can do so at the various things. They're Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, and they're all at Factsstillmatter. Head on over to the link tree where you'll find all the links to all the stuff that most of the items that we talk about today. In particular, you can find the link to the Instagram page for the Do Something Tour. Please follow along there. We will update that. We'll post our daily fundraising targets. We'll add some more things as we go. Still putting the pieces together. I am going to be in New York for the No Kings rally at the end of March. That'll be a great opportunity to test drive, do something a little bit more. I'm going to tell you about my experience last night with democracy, small town democracy last night at its finest, yesterday afternoon until yesterday evening, which was interesting. I was in the minority on a couple of things. You might be surprised by that. Probably not. Anyway, in the link tree that's in my bio, you find a link to the Facts merch store. You can pick up some really cool items there. Facts HQ, we call it. And more importantly, you'll find a link to the Discord. The Discord is kind of the hub of our entire community. So please consider joining there. We just ask that you follow the verification steps. And if you have a difficult time with that, for some reason it doesn't work, just copy the link, post it in a browser. That should help. If not, then just reach out to one of our amazing moderators because they can help you as well. Welcome to the show. We're glad you're here. So we've been doing all month because March is Women's History Month. We're going to be identifying some amazing women from history. And today we're going to talk about Judith Ellen Heumann, or Heumann. Interesting spelling. It's Heumann. I'm going to call her Heumann because I love the story so much. Born December the 18th, 1947, passed away March the 4th, 2023, was an American disability rights activist known as the mother of the disability rights movement. She was recognized internationally as a leader in the disability community. Heumann was a lifelong civil rights advocate for people with disabilities. Her work with governments and non-governmental organizations, nonprofits, and various other disability interest groups significantly contributed to the development of human rights legislation and policies benefiting children and adults with disabilities. Through her work in the World Bank and the State Department, Heumann led the mainstreaming of disability rights into international development. Her contributions extended the international reach of the independent living movement. She was born in Philadelphia to Werner and Lise Heumann, who were German Jewish immigrants. She was the oldest of 3 children and grew up in Brooklyn. Her mother came to the U.S. from Germany in 1935 and her father in 1934. Heumann's grandparents, great-grandparents, and other family members were unalive in the Holocaust. Her brother Joseph is a film professor and author. She contracted polio at the age of 18 months and used a wheelchair most of her life. She rejected cliches about disability as a tragic experience, saying, quote, "Disability only becomes a tragedy for me when society fails to provide the things we need to lead our lives. Job opportunities or barrier-free buildings, for example, it is not a tragedy to me that I'm living in a wheelchair." Heumann graduated from Long Island University in 1969. She earned a Master's of Science degree in Public Health at the University of California, Berkeley. Heumann began making major moves towards rights for people with disabilities while attending Long Island University. She organized rallies and protests and other students with and without disabilities, demanding access to her classrooms by ramps and the right to live in a dorm. Heumann studied speech therapy. In 1970, there was a lawsuit, Heumann versus the Board of Education of the City of New York. She was denied her New York teaching license because the board did not believe she could get herself or her students out of the building in case of a fire. She sued the board for discrimination. A local newspaper ran the headline, "You can be president, not teacher with polio." The case settled without a trial, and Heumann became the first wheelchair user to teach in New York City, teaching elementary school there for 3 years. Today's woman of history is Judith Heumann. Really cool story. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate you guys. So big night. It is go time. You know, primary day yesterday, and we are approaching. We are in the season, so to speak. I want to make sure I have this correct list. Yes. So we're going to talk about the results of last night, Texas, Arkansas, North Carolina. But I want to remind everybody that coming up next week, Mississippi is on the 10th. Texas minor party county conventions, as that's March 14th. Illinois has statewide primary elections on the 17th. Texas again, on more minor party conventions on the 21st. Indiana on the 22nd. Utah on April 11th. Illinois on April 15th. Utah again, state party conventions on the 15th. South Dakota. Indiana has statewide primary elections on May 5th. Ohio has statewide primary elections on May 5th. Nebraska, statewide primary elections on May 12th. West Virginia, statewide primary elections also May 12th. On May 16th, Louisiana. On May 16th, again, Louisiana. On May 19th, Alabama. In Georgia on May 19th. In Idaho on May 19th. Kentucky, May 19th. Oregon, May 19th. Pennsylvania, May 19th. June, California. Iowa's on June 2nd. Montana's on June 2nd. Also, New Mexico, South Dakota, Indiana, and South Dakota as well. Actually, I'm sorry, Indiana is on June 6th, as is South Dakota. Maine on June 9th. North Dakota on May 9th. Nevada on June 9th. South Carolina on June 9th. D.C., Oklahoma, Indiana, you get the point. It is go time. It is absolutely go time. Now, everything that we've been talking about here, all the inroads that we've hopefully made with voter activism, all the conversations we've had about contacting your elected officials, phone banking, fundraising, campaigning, door knocking, community involvement, voter outreach, whatever it might be, we're here. Okay, we're here. So let's get into the results of last night. Some controversy, of course, we could expect that, as is always the case these days in our elections. But I want to kind of go through some of the things that we, let me see if I can find it. I want to make sure I get the right one here. I have a lot of information to cover today, guys. Hopefully I'll do my best. May not be able to bring up as many guests today, but I will do my best for you. So let's start in Texas. As most of you know by now, James Tallarico was declared the winner, defeated Jasmine Crockett. It was about a 10-point margin. There was some controversy connected to that because of Dallas County. Dallas County is the hub of Jasmine Crockett's support. That's basically was her district. So in and around Dallas County, there was some challenges to the timing of the election. Let me rephrase. There were some issues connected to the precinct location that registered voters in Dallas County were supposed to go to. So the question then becomes, was it significant enough to change the results? And it doesn't look like that. I'm sure there's going to be still some counting going on. So this, let me give you the details of the story. So I want to make sure I get it absolutely right. For years, Dallas, this is from the Guardian. I'm sorry, this is from AP. For years, Dallas County allowed county-wide vote centers, meaning voters could cast a ballot at any polling location in the county. But for the 2026 primary, the local Republican Party declined to participate in a joint primary system. Under Texas law, that meant county-wide voting could not be used. Voters were suddenly required to vote only at their assigned precinct polling place. Many voters did not realize this rule had changed. Hundreds of voters went to wrong polling places. Many voters went to their usual vote centers. Poll workers had to turn them away and then redirect them to another precinct. Some voters had to travel several miles to a different location. The Dallas County election website crashed due to traffic from voters trying to find the correct location. Local reports described chaos and long lines at some locations. A judge that did end up extending voting hours. Dallas County judge ordered polls to stay open later so voters who had been redirected and could still vote. The extension was about 2 extra hours in some Democratic precincts. Democrats argued many voters had effectively been disenfranchised because they were sent to the wrong location. Texas Supreme Court then intervened. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's office challenged the extension shows you how afraid of Jasmine Crockett they are. The Texas Supreme Court blocked the extension order. It ordered the ballots cast after the official 7 p.m. Central Time closing be separated. This created uncertainty about whether those ballots would ultimately count. Democratic candidates and officials said the rule change suppressed votes in heavily Democratic Dallas County. Some campaigns threatened lawsuits. Republicans said the change followed existing Texas election law once the parties ran separate primaries. The dispute particularly affected the Senate race between James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett because Dallas County is Crockett's political base. The controversy was not about fraud or voting manipulation, but about procedural changes that confused voters. The core issue was switching from county-wide voting to precinct-only voting, which caused voters to be turned away or redirected and led to a court fight over the ballots. So the question then becomes, was it significant enough based on the numbers to affect the result? So I did as much research as I could on this, and this is the conclusion that I came up with based on reporting from the AP, also from the Guardian. Hundreds of voters, it claims, were documented arriving at the wrong polling place because of the change from county-wide vote centers to precinct-only voting. Election workers reported redirecting large numbers of voters throughout the day, sometimes every second or third voter at some locations. The judge again initially extended hours. The Supreme Court then stepped in saying these votes need to be separated. Then the determination was made whether or not they're going to be counted or not. The result was 10 points. At the time the results were reported, Tallarico had 51.6% of the vote compared to 41.7% for Jasmine, with roughly 2/3 of all votes counted at that point. It's a large double-digit margin. Based on projections, based on voting counts that had been recorded and the percentage split, it does not seem there would have been nearly enough votes for Jasmine to win if all the votes were counted under normal conditions. So this is Republican gamesmanship from my perspective, confusion to the voters. They're going to claim it wasn't disenfranchised because they had an opportunity to vote. Some may have gone to their newly directed polling location. Some may not. It's certainly disenfranchising voters. It doesn't look like there would have been enough votes for Jasmine Crockett to overcome that amount. So let's just assume that that's the case, okay? So the question that Crockett voters have to ask themselves today is, are you going to support James Tallarico? The reason I say that is because of what happened on the Republican side, because neither John Cornyn nor Ken Paxton hit 50%, which means they're divided, okay? They're divided, which means the Republican Party, we already know that they're in trouble. The fact that Donald Trump had to go to Texas last week is a telltale sign. So the question for Crockett voters in Texas and anybody in Texas, there's a real opportunity to flip that seat. That James Tallarico, whether he be head-to-head against Ken Paxton because of all his controversies, John Cornyn, who's wildly unpopular, there's a real opportunity to flip that seat. So Crockett voters, I am asking you. I know I wanted Jasmine to win as well, no doubt about it. I absolutely wanted to see her in the Senate. It does not appear like she is going to be the nominee after all votes are counted. I think it's logical and safe to say that. So the question then becomes for Crockett voters, can you cast your vote? I should say, will you cast your vote for James Tallarico come November? And if you don't, if you're not willing to, then that becomes part of the problem that we've been discussing. Because Republicans are in trouble in Texas. They know they are. They know they are in trouble in Texas. Again, neither Paxton nor John Cornyn got 50% in the primary, which triggers the runoff. That runoff happens in May. So here you are. I mean, they're different candidates, right? They're different candidates. And if anybody, I mean, I don't know if Hector's in the chat or if anybody who's in Texas and you want to come up and talk about that this morning, I'd love to hear your opinion on that. But here's a real opportunity here, right? This is a real opportunity. And this has been, I've been trying to set this table for all of you as we approach general election in November. Campaign really hard for your candidate. Volunteer, phone bank, do all the good things. for your candidate, right? And when the time comes, if they don't get the nomination, you still need to stay engaged. You still have to stay engaged. You still have to vote. If you consider a vote for James Tallarico as harm reduction, then that's fine. Do it. I think he's a good candidate. He's not Jasmine Crockett. I wanted her voice in the Senate. There's no doubt about it. I don't think her political career is over by any means. I think we're going to see her again, maybe run for governor in a few years. Who knows? But we're going to still see her. She's young. She's super talented, really smart. I love her policy platform, right? I think she needs to really think, though, about her corporate PAC donations. I think that might have hurt her a little bit. And I think the Republicans are going to use that against her in future races, but that's for the future. But for now, Texas, would you not be proudly represented in the Senate by James Tallarico? I think so. Okay, so let me see if I got that story covered. I think so. Yes. Okay. So then on the Republican side, let me go back up to the top here. John Cornyn got 40. John Cornyn's the incumbent. Remember that. 42% of the Michael Whatley is a Trump sycophant. He's been supported by Trump. That's a winnable seat in North Carolina, right? That seems to be, of all the ones that are out there that I think you can safely, I'm not going to say safe because nothing is safe, but that seems like a very winnable seat. So that's a flip. Now, if you think about the map, it's 50. The reason I want to talk so much about the Senate is because you're hearing rumblings of Samuel Alito and or Ted and or speaking of Texas and or Clarence Thomas resigning. Alito's got a book, right? I told you guys about this. Alito's got a book that's coming out, and it comes out just before the start of the fall term for SCOTUS. Typically speaking, when you write a book, you go on tour to support it, which means if let logic speak, he likely will not want to be part of the Supreme Court. Instead, he'll be out on the road. And Ted Cruz, his name has been mentioned as a possible replacement. Now, I don't think Ted Cruz is an extremist, like somebody like, what's her name in Florida, Aileen Cannon or others, but he's Ted Cruz. So yeah, that's a rumor. That's a rumor. His name has been mentioned. His name has been mentioned about that. So The question I have for you is, if we can flip the Senate, I don't know if there's enough time, quite frankly. Here's the issue. It depends on when Alito makes his announcement, because if you follow the math, because of the way the Senate, they ignore the filibuster when it comes to Supreme Court nominations. So you only, or confirmations, I should say, you only need a simple majority. As it sits right now, it's 53-47. So if we think ahead, right? And I want people to be motivated by this, because this is how close things are. If we look at North Carolina, if we look at Maine, because Plattner is really doing well up there, raising a lot of money, getting a lot of bipartisan support, getting a lot of independents, and a lot of people who are just done with Susan Collins. Although she is a cat with 9 lives, she tends to survive. And then you look at Texas, based on the polling that we just talked about, and this potential flip. That becomes 50-50, right? That becomes 50-50. Now, there are Republican senators in the Senate that despise Ted Cruz. Yeah, I think about Ohio as well, Chris. There are Republicans in the Senate. So if the timing is such that Alito and or Thomas don't resign before Election Day, then we have to hold John Thune to the McConnell rule, which, hey, the voters have spoken. This is an election year. We'll see what happens. We'll see if they're consistent. But this is big, you guys. This is really, really big. There's a real serious opportunity. And I'm going to say this right now, and I may be in the minority when I say this, but I want the filibuster to go away. I want it trashed and thrown into the pile, the dustbin of history, as they say, because I want to expand the court. I really do. I want to expand the court. I want the court to mirror the appellates, which are, I think there's 13. I'm not saying we need to go that far, but we could go from 9 to 11 and then balance out the court. The court is supposed to be balanced. It is supposed to be balanced. So imagine a 7 or a 6-5 split on the court. Then it becomes, a little bit more relevant to the times. And I would also introduce, as part of getting rid of the filibuster, I would also introduce term limits for the Supreme Court. You can't have people that are on the court for 40 years. You just can't. You can't do it because society changes so much. You can think back to just think about the civil, the laws protecting. Think about Obergefell, for example, right? Someone who's been in the court that predates Obergefell, and then we want to make sure that we're addressing the needs of society, which the Supreme Court is intended to do. They have to look at the cultural situation, how society has evolved. So anyway, long story short, that's there's a big opportunity in the Senate. So let's talk about another few races. We talked about North Carolina. In Texas, these are some notable outcomes. So Dan Crenshaw lost. He was the incumbent. So he was replaced by Steve Toth. I think Steve Toth was actually endorsed by the president. Tony Gonzalez, who's under a controversy. Don't forget, Tony Gonzalez is the guy who had an affair with a staffer, and then she ended up taking her own life. And there's been pressure from people within his own party because of his impropriety and his relationships and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that he should have resigned. Mike Johnson, of course, my little bitch boy, thank you. Little bitch boy would not want that to happen because he would lose his majority. Instead, he let it go to the voters, and neither of those candidates got the 50%. So Tony Gonzalez and Brendan Herrera in the Republican side will be running off because neither one of them got above 42%. Texas 35, John Juan, the Republican, and Carlos de la Cruz also advanced to a runoff. And then in Texas 34, Eric Flores, the Republican, won the GOP primary. Arkansas held primaries for governor, U.S. Senate, U.S. House, and state legislative races. Runoffs will occur March 31st. And then the financial fight. Do I have anything else on this? I think that covers. I don't think I missed anything there, so I want to make sure I address those things. Over the course of the day today, we'll track the if there's any further updates and or information coming out from Dallas County in particular, which may or may not impact the vote. I don't really know if it will. We'll see. So again, just to recap, James Tallarico declared the winner in the Texas Senate primary on the Democratic side. There's a runoff between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton in Texas. On the Republican side, Republican Governor Greg Abbott won his nomination. Gina Hinojosa won the Democratic nomination for governor. Steve Toth won. He defeated incumbent Dan Crenshaw in the Texas House. That's Texas District 2. There's a runoff in Texas District 23 between Tony Gonzalez and Brendan Herrera. Republican Eric Flores won the nominee on the Republican side for Texas House 34. And there's a runoff between John Lujan and Carlos de la Cruz in Texas 35. Roy Cooper got the Democratic nomination in North Carolina. Michael Whatley, the Republican nomination. Sarah Huckabee Sanders won the GOP primary. She's the incumbent in Arkansas. She'll be going up against Chris Jones, the Democrat. Tom Cotton renominated on the other side in Arkansas for Senate. And there's various races in the Arkansas House. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, all right? And it's go time, okay? We have to remember that our loyalties should exist with our candidate, but as we've discussed numerous times, when the time comes, you've got to focus. If your candidate isn't your cup of tea, as they say, or your flavor of the day, please just focus on harm reduction. If I could ask you to do that, I'd appreciate that. All right. So that takes care of that. We've got a few other things we have to talk about today because we're going to spend a lot of time on Kristi Noem's testimony yesterday because that was an absolute embarrassment. You know, it's one thing to be incompetent, but to be a bona fide, flat out fucking liar and literally lying to cover up your previous lies is one of those crazy phenomenon. I think I have somebody's requested. I guess not. So before I get to that though, because there's a lot to cover there, everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. I appreciate you all very, very much. I want to talk some little things that came out of Hillary's testimony that I don't think we covered enough yesterday. And I want to go on the record saying that I believe Bill Clinton lied in his testimony. I really do. There's just too many things. He was too inconvenient or too many moments of convenience that he might have forgotten something. A couple of things he said certainly contradict what the president has said about statements. This is the problem when there's so much information that's thrown at us a million miles an hour. But I want to talk about Hillary a little bit because she had some really interesting statements. This one in particular, she was asked, I think it was obviously a Democrat who asked her this question because she was given time to answer. But this is again, Hillary's smarter than anybody in that room yesterday or the day before, whatever it was last week. But this is a wild take. So here you go.
Deposed by this committee?
Absolutely. You know, I was a lawyer, and as a lawyer, you would look for pattern and practice. If you were deposing a witness in a case that you were trying, if you were in court, what did you know about this person? What you knew could influence how you questioned that person, how you tried the case. Donald Trump has been held civilly liable for sexual assault by a jury of his peers. 9 members of a jury found him liable in the sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll. That is behavior. That fits a pattern if one were looking for a pattern. He has also been convicted on 34 felony counts for attempting to hide his relationship with an escort and then to commit business fraud to prevent it from becoming public in the 2016 campaign, which was ultimately election interference. So if I were running the committee or I were involved in this investigation, I would be looking for people who maybe had some prior conduct that might be relevant to either money or crimes. And yes, I think that it would be in keeping with the scope of the investigation of this committee to set up a deposition with President Trump. I know he's been deposed many, many, many times. He's taken the Fifth Amendment many, many hundreds of times. So I'm not saying you're going to get a lot of information. But given what's in the files, And given past and prior conduct, he would be on my witness list.
And don't forget, the precedent has now been set, right? That you can bring in a former first lady, well, in her case, first lady, senator, and secretary of state, right? Once again, I just want to remind people of something, that they brought in Hillary Clinton. They bring in a woman to testify about crimes alleged to have been committed by men, and yet none of those men have been dragged in to testify. Weird, right? So the precedent's been set that you can bring in a former first lady with knowledge, right? You can bring in a former president or even a current president with knowledge. The precedent has been set. You'll recall a couple weeks back when the announcement came out that both Bill and Hillary were going to testify. The current president was not happy about that, because he's just like, yeah, okay, well, it's a shame. It's sad. Okay, well, what that take was brilliant, but this is the one that really stood out to me. Hillary's a lawyer. We know that. Incredibly smart. This was a very interesting thing she had to say here.
He has a tell.
Let's talk about Trump.
He has a behavioral tell. Whenever he is worried about being found out himself, he accuses somebody else of doing what he actually has done. And it's just a pattern with him. So it's no surprise to me that all of a sudden, what he promised in his campaign to reveal, everything about the files, and then when his people began looking in the files and realized how potentially incriminating they were of him, all of a sudden, that was no longer the focus. It was blaming Democrats, talking about a hoax, saying move on, there's nothing to see here. That is a typical pattern of President Trump's behavior, which speaks louder than all the words that he speaks and all of the Truth Social posts that he makes. He clearly knows what he did. He knows what others did.
Yeah.
And finally, do you think that Donald Trump was by this committee?
Absolutely. You know, I was a lawyer.
Oh, I just played that. She's right, and we've been saying that for a very long time, right? We've been saying that for a very, very long time, and it's a strategy. In fact, it is the strategy of the Trump administration, because it was at his direction. Before Roger Stone in Trump's ear, it was Roy Cohn in Fred Trump's ear, and then in Donald's ear, it's like lie, deflect, never apologize, always lie, attack. It's a strategy that this entire administration uses, and I'm gonna give you some real-time examples as we get into Kristi Noem's testimony yesterday. I found this great clip from this gentleman I just recently started following. He's a former, his cred is, let me see. He's a former FBI. Let me just pull it up so I can have the actual sound here. He's a former FBI interrogator, and his name is Steve Lazarus. I really like the way he breaks things down. I don't know of his political affiliation, don't really care. I just like the way he breaks this down. So he's going to give you some examples of what we just discussed and how there are some obvious tells and there's strategies and tactics around why they choose to do what they do and what they are. And he identifies them very well. Here you go.
A liar, but I do have decades of experience watching people lie. And here are 4 techniques they resort to when they're cornered.
He's a former FBI agent, retired.
The first is deflection.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000, and the Nasdaq smashing records.
Make it about something or somebody else. Try to stop the line of questioning altogether by bringing up unrelated issues, and in this case, really unrelated issues. Maybe they'll forget they asked the question in the first place. Next is something called obfuscation.
So, pivot. Now it's obfuscation. Okay, this guy is he's a former retired FBI agent, trained in these kinds of things, right? We all are. We see it obviously. I mean, we've all gotten a training as to how to deflect and to pivot into whataboutisms, and he actually discusses that in just a moment.
Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
So in response to a question that's as clear as day, the person suddenly appears confused.
That was Todd Blanche, by the way.
And in their mind, if they're confused about the question, they shouldn't have to answer it.
Correct.
Moving on, let's take a look at the overt display of contempt.
Did you tell the attorney?
So this is Eric Swalwell questioning Kash Patel last year.
General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes or no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No, A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F.
This is another form of deflection, but with a healthy dose of arrogance thrown in. Instead of answering the question, they belittle it, and they belittle the person asking it. The overall strategy is the same, though. Avoid the direct answer that you can't afford to give. Number 4 is something we see a lot of nowadays, and I like to call it whataboutism.
What about Biden? Biden did it. What about Biden?
None of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein.
Wait, you think I did something wrong? Well, what about that guy? As if someone else's actions somehow excuse your own. Folks, when you have the truth on your side, you don't need deflection or obfuscation or anything.
I've told you that a million times. If you have the truth on your side, do not relent. Do not relent. When you have the evidence, the truths, the facts, the witness testimony, the statements, it's the video, et cetera, et cetera. When you have the truth that is on your side, do not relent. Don't. You can choose how long you want to continue a conversation, but do not relent.
Any of that. You just answer the question. Otherwise, you run the risk of being called a liar, and nobody wants that. What other ways do people avoid telling the truth? Share your thoughts in the comments and follow me here.
Again, his name is Steve Lazarus. So deny, deflect, make counter accusations, pivot, obfuscate, allow yourself to say, I'm not going to take these questions seriously. This is the entire game of this administration. This is why it's so frustrating for all of us, because we watch what they do and then their supporters just double down. Again, his name is, I will give you the video. I'll put it, I'll send it to the mods and they can post it for you guys, okay? Just something to keep in mind, because there's a strategy behind it. We need to do this whole, we the Trump administration, and anybody, and Hillary said it well, Trump's got to tell, when he's stuck, he'll project out onto everybody else. And then the whataboutisms that we hear from Trump supporters, well, what about Biden? What about Merrick Garland? We'd like you to address the issue, please. They won't. They refuse to do that. And I wouldn't either, quite frankly, because you can't. You can't. Again, here we sit, right? We sit in this space now where the presidency, the administration is just literally lying to us at every single turn. And the response that we'll get from the right is, wait for it, everybody lies. We have been very consistent here. I don't worship politicians. That's not my game here. I don't worship politicians, and you shouldn't either. I vote for them. They work for me. If they don't do the job that I voted them to do, I'm going to criticize them. I'm going to critique them. And then when given the next opportunity, I'm going to vote them out. I'm going to vote them out. See, look, hey, so Joe, Joe, I've been in your lives before, and you literally just proved my point. You got to use all caps, right? You got to use all caps to try to get somebody's attention. Did Biden ever lie? You are literally doing what we just discussed, Joe. If your statement had said, if you would like the chat to take you seriously, Joe, you could have said, I'm tired of Donald Trump lying to me all the time. That would show that you've got the ability to critically think through situations. Instead, you double down, because I've been on your panels. I've been in your lives. You believe every single lie that you've been told, Joe. It's embarrassing for you. You should try to do better. And by the way, Joe, you came after one of my mods. You do that, my friend, and you open up the gates of fucking hell. Let me tell you. So you can move the fuck on. Understood? Get the fuck out of here. Say what you want about me. I don't care. You come on one of my moderators, it's game over. And I'm a nonviolent person. I can tell you right now, don't do it. That goes to anybody. You just proved my point, though. You literally just proved my point. You make these statements and you sit there and all you do is say, well, did Biden never lie? We can talk about Biden, but he's not the president. How much longer are you going to double down on that bullshit? How much longer? What more do you need to know? You were fucking told there would be no new wars. So your response now is, well, this isn't a war. And then when the president comes out and says it's a war, and Pete Hegseth comes out and says it's a war, you're like, well, I don't agree with them. You don't have to continue to debase yourselves in support of a person, a man, an administration who doesn't give a fuck about you. We've made some progress with some people in this space who really, really, really feel like they've reached that point where they can't defend it anymore. And again, I'll shout out to Mike and I'll shout out to his wife, Debbie. Hope you're here today. They were just like, the epiphany, the moment for Mike was he wanted to stop hating so much. And he feels like the president has fueled that hatred. And that's what it's done to you, Joe. You are believing someone who doesn't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you. They are using you. Yes, shout out to Mike and Debbie. They're using you. Do you understand that? And why they're doing it? They're doing it because they know they can. Because you'll defend him no matter what. When the story changes, you'll change along with it. Instead of addressing what's right in front of you, you will say, what about Biden? What about Biden? Did Biden never lie? Bill Clinton's is in the Epstein files. Yes, we know. How come we don't talk about that? We do every single day. But you know who's in the Epstein files more? That would be Donald Trump. Yeah, but those are non-credible allegations. Okay, but they use them to convict other people. Well, that don't matter. We had that conversation, what was it, 2 days ago? Day and a half ago? When somebody said, well, the evidence that they used to convict Ghislaine Maxwell, that was true. But when it comes to Trump, it's a lie. It was yesterday? Thank you, Perry. And by the way, friends, thank you for the support. I got a lot of reach out yesterday. It was a rough day yesterday. It was a rough day, but we made it through. We're here. We're back in the fight. But this is kind of my point, right? This is the point. You just proved it. You type it in all caps to get your attention. You got my attention. And then that reminded me when you went after my moderators. I'll say it again. Say whatever the fuck you want about me. I don't care. You come after them, it's not going to end well. They don't need my protection, but I will stand shoulder to shoulder with them. In fact, I'll leave it right there. This is the point. This is the point, okay? And you just proved it. Why do you have to debase yourself to support somebody who doesn't give a fuck about you? We'll get back to that in just a moment. I do want to take a slight pause. Actually, I think I have a picture. You guys will laugh. So, do I have that picture? Hard to tell, but this was my town meeting yesterday. Crowd was gathering. It got a little bit busier after that. So Vermont has a history of of grassroots democracy. In fact, town meetings have existed before Vermont even became a state. Vermont was the 14th state. You know the history. Vermont was a republic, didn't want to negotiate, didn't trust the federal government, said, we've got this sweet deal that we work with the British government, and we've got this excellent trading relationship. And finally, Thomas Jefferson convinced Vermonters to become a state. And then sure enough, they changed the rules. Vermont became the 14th state. It was initially supposed to be one of the 14 original colonies, but then that changed. Anyway, town meeting existed before Vermont became a state. So I go every year. During election year, it's during the primaries. The general election year, there's primaries. I went yesterday because I always go. It's my civic duty. Every single town across the country has it. And I voted against the school budget. And I was in the minority. And I got shouted at. The reason I did that is because they continue to cut the school budget. Vermont property taxes and Vermont education funding is complicated. There's all kinds of connections to it. It's always been that way. The promise that we got was there was going to be, this goes back about 4 years. The promise that we got was they were going to, yes, cut funding, but they were going to utilize resources to hire more teachers. And that has not happened. So that's kind of that's why I voted against it. It will pass. It will pass. I get that. It's a hard decision to make. Like I support local communities, and I think community schools are amazing. We have a problem here, though. It's because we've got a lot of community schools which are spreading resources. I'm not a huge fan in general of school consolidation, but I have to be practical because I know that there's only so much money. There's only 620,000 people in the entire state. We've also got some of the best education outcomes in the country. So we're doing some things right. But as you can only pull so much from a property tax perspective. My property taxes are going up. There's no doubt about that. In our district, your dollars can follow your student as long as you stay within the district, which is what we have here. Long story short, I would support consolidation. That didn't come up yesterday. I started to go down that particular road. I'm like, Steve, don't do this. Stay on topic. But it was interesting because I had a couple of people approach me afterwards who I noticed were sort of shaking their head when I was saying I was going to vote against it. And I did vote against it. And they said, I never really thought about it from that perspective before. And I'm like, well, here's the problem. My town is conservative for the most part. I get people not wanting their property taxes to go up, but I want to invest in schools, right? So when you cut funding for schools, I can't support that. I support my neighbors because we don't want our property taxes going up. I literally voted against my best interest because my property taxes will go up. But to what end? If we had just done what we had done initially and advocated and or hired more teachers, then I would have voted in support of that yesterday. Because then I would have looked at the staffing, would have been like, okay, we don't need this. We've got more teachers. We've got more access to through special needs programs and things like that. So there you go. Enrollment keeps going down. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's my point. So then back to what we were discussing earlier, if you support these kinds of things, then sometimes you got to make some hard decisions. I don't want to go down in history as voting against school budgets, but my reasons perhaps were different than others. Some people vote against school budgets because they don't want to pay more. If that discussion yesterday was about increasing funding for school budgets, I would have been jumping up and down, hallelujah, let's go, let's go, let's go. Most people in the room were supportive of cutting it because they look at their property tax bill, which I get, I understand. But what's the end game? And by the way, only few options for pie yesterday, but somebody brought like cases and cases of cupcakes. I might have had 9. No, I'm kidding. I might have had more than one. More than one, less than 5. Red velvet cupcakes, actually maple creamy cupcakes. Need I say more? Bordering on orgasmic. That's all I can tell you. Let me just check in over here real quick. Okay. One is ever enough. Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's leave that right there. But we just had an example this morning of what we're discussing here about people feel like they need to just continue to defend this man. Why? Why do you have to defend this? I don't get it. Okay, I found this. Oh, I wasn't asking you, Siri. Thank you. Appreciate you, Siri. Okay. Let's get back into this because what we're discussing this morning is going to relate to Kristi Noem's testimony in particular. Before we go down that road, like we've always talked about, right? Hillary hit the nail on the head about how Trump will tell his voters anything they want to hear. And then meanwhile, my Siri's up and ready to go, exactly. Meanwhile, what's happening under his watch is not anything like he told his voters. For example, gas prices are up nationally. $3.20 is the average, according to AAA. Thank you, Brooke, for posting this. So the military.com, U.S. hits fourth largest single-day gas cost increase since 2005. 21 years. The biggest single-day spike in 21 years. And you're going to find a way to defend it. National gas prices in the U.S. have risen drastically since the U.S. and Israel launched initial strikes against Iran on Saturday. According to petroleum and energy analysts, as economic uncertainty due to the conflict abroad becomes more formidable. Strait of Hormuz, I forget the number, 25% of all the world's oil goes through that strait. You know, it's blockaded right now, which means we're going to have to buy more from Canada, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Monday represented the fourth highest single day national gas price increase since 2005. According to Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysts at Gas Buddy, with a 12-cent jump trailing an 18.1 cent increase on August 31st, 2005, a 15.8 cent increase on March 4th, 2022, and a 14.4 cent increase on September the 1st, 2005. Two of the previous highs occurred either during the Iraq War with a per-day uptick or reflecting Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Anybody want to comment on that? Anybody? Anybody want to comment? What are you going to hold on to now? Every single state, I looked at AAA, and every single state saw an uptick in gas pricing. What about Biden? It was $29 a gallon in 2020. Every state, gas prices went up. $3.20 a gallon nationally. Why? 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 Here we sit, right? Here we sit. Another endless fucking war, more fucking lies told about us in an attempt to cover it up. The administration can't make up their fucking mind. They don't know who's right, who's wrong. Do we have war powers? Do we not? Does the president need it? Does he not? And here we sit. Gas prices up again. And people like Joe will say, what about Biden? Didn't Biden lie? Okay. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Nothing to see here. It's all good. Okay. Covered that. Covered gas prices. Covered that. Talked about Hillary. All right. This is interesting. Michelle Tafoya, bro, you're not coming up, so I don't know why you're requesting. You had your opportunity the other day, and you were foolish to choose the day that you did your fucking rhetoric bullshit. Anyway, Michelle Tafoya used to be a sideline reporter, I think for ESPN or CBS at NFL games, and she's running for the Senate in Minnesota, and she is a Trump-endorsed candidate. And she was on Greg Gutfeld's show. He does it's like supposed to be like a comedy show on Fox. I'm not even sure how many nights a week it's on, but she went out publicly and made this statement in an attempt to actually, let me just let this play because it's really brief. She made this statement, and even the panelists on no, anti-MAGA leftists, you're problematic. you're problematic because you attack some of the same people that we are trying to try to encourage to vote. That's why I don't want to talk to you. You had an opportunity to be civil the other day and you chose not to. You're not coming up. Stop requesting. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Find another, you know what, bro? Host your own live, okay? Just host your own live. Have a good day. So this is Michelle Tafoya. I want you to listen to this.
Homelessness, almost 30% of Californians are homeless on any given night. 30%. What? That is the largest margin by far.
30%?
I think it's 28. So close to 30% of their population is homeless on any given night.
Does that just mean they like go out to dinner and they're not at home?
30% of Californians, in her mind, are houseless. 30%. California, because it has the biggest population, represents around 25% of all houseless people across the country. Maybe that's what she meant, but she doubled down. It's around, I think I did the math here. Hang on a second. It's 474 houseless people per 100,000 residents. It's like 2% of the population. 30%. So if you were to drive around every community in California, that would mean 30% of those that live in Beverly Hills, those that live in Burbank, those that live in Malibu, those that live in, wherever that might be. And that person is running for the United States Senate. And they are likely going to be the party's nominee. Yeah, she was only 28% wrong. I know, it's not even logical. And she doubled down on it. Doubled down.
Homelessness, almost 30% of Californians are homeless on any given night. 30%. What? That is the largest margin by far.
30%?
I think it's 28. So close to 30% of their population is homeless on any given night.
Does that just mean they like go out to dinner and they're not at home?
Maybe.
So that would be, roughly speaking, 11,850,000 Californians are homeless. And somebody made this comment in the chat. People will run with that. People who watch Fox will hear that story and be like, well, I can obviously take her seriously. She's a talking head. I've seen her on TV. I trust her. She told me that 30% of Californians are homeless. You guys remember, this is one of my favorite all-time skits on SNL, the Californians. Oh, hey, what are you doing, Stuart? What are you doing here? And they do the breakdown, like anybody who travels in LA. Like I took the 5 to the San Clemente, and then I took a left on Mulholland. That's kind of what it reminds me of. You know what I'm talking about? The Californians? Anybody? You guys know that, right? That's like one of the best skits in SNL history, as far as I'm concerned. And none of them could ever keep it. It's Devin, exactly. Mr. Stewart. What are you doing here? Devin, what are you doing here? Sorry, I've got voices in my head. Trump supporters and MAGA will believe it. They'll believe it. They'll hear that clip and that will permeate, and somebody will say it's 30%. Now again, the math tells us that because California has the biggest population by far, that's going to have the most houseless people, which is roughly 20% of our country. So therefore, that would track. So California would have the highest percentage of houseless people across the country, but it's not 30% of the fucking population. My goodness gracious. Let me do this. All right. All that to say, the strategy of obfuscation, deflection, the strategy of misinformation, disinformation, lies, whatever you want to call it, the whataboutisms, brings us to Kristi Noem's testimony yesterday. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. 1,700 people in here. If we could work on getting to 300K likes, that'd be awesome. Just want to make sure, just want to double check on a couple of things. Thank you, Michelle. You're very kind. Appreciate you. Blue hearts in the chat for Michelle. Also, thank you to Judy. That's incredibly kind. Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate you. The Do Something Tour, your $100 donation. That's incredibly kind of you. Thank you so very, very much. That's amazing. And also to Dawn for your $25 contribution. Appreciate you guys very, very much. That's amazing. That's amazing. We're going to get past $6,000 today. I appreciate you all. It's incredibly kind of you. Really, really, really appreciate you all very, very much. Hearts in chat for all of our contributors, please. So, as you know, Kristi Noem has been facing a lot of heat, and rightly so. We've talked about her lies. We've talked about her misdirections. We talked about her untruths. And I think I want to highlight some of the things that she said yesterday, but I also want to remind people that this has become bipartisan. Like the attacks on her yesterday were not just from Cory Booker, not just from Sheldon Whitehouse, not just from Peter Welch from Vermont, not just from others, Richard Blumenthal. They were coming from, John Kennedy as well. And I think I want to start with his because he was very direct talking to her. And I'll share this story with you because I think this goes to the levels of corruption that exist in DHS right now. Blumenthal as well. We'll talk about that in just a second. So here's Senator Kennedy questioning her.
$250 million of taxpayer money when we're scratching for every penny and we're fighting over rescission packages. I just can't agree with Madam Secretary. The president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president know you were going to do this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward.
You heard it. She said the president authorized her to spend money on these fucking ads. The president did that. She just literally threw him under the bus.
And I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe on the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut and I'm going to spend $220 million running them, that he would have agreed to that. My research shows that you did not bid them out, that you picked, in fact, one of the people you picked, the strategy group, Safe America Media was a company formed 11 days before you picked them, and that the strategy group got most of the money, and the head of that is married to your former spokesperson. Look, we all have friends who are qualified. I'm not quibbling with that. It troubles me.
Interesting, right? Interesting. So the Department of Homeland Security last February announced the ad campaign, which features Noem telling migrants to go home or face deportation. A firm that ties to Noem and her former spokeswoman received the contract, which was awarded after skirting the competitive bidding process. But no corruption here, right? So a little bit more on that story. Let's see if I can find it here. $250,000 consulting contract went to American Made Media, a firm tied to Trump campaign operatives and Corey Lewandowski Associates. His name's going to come up a little bit because Corey and Kristi have been having a very well-known secret, flying around the country, mile high clubbing. Two consenting adults, you can do whatever the fuck you want, but on taxpayer dollars, as you're lying, right? So there's that, Kristi. I know you're looking for a little Lewandowski. The reason I share that with you is because we're going to get into that story in just a moment, because this was a photograph taken from inside one of the jets that Kristi Noem and others are using. Now that looks cozy to me. Kristi, taxpayer dollars. That's nicer than my house. They had to refold the sheets. Christy, what I want to know is, where are the candles? Right? And did you cuddle afterwards on taxpayer dollars? Is that like a bear skin? Is that a puppy skin pillow? Sorry, I can do that all day. Black light? I mean, that's inside the jet. So it's just, I'm just curious, right? I'm just curious, Christy, as to how you were handling these questions, because we're going to be addressing that a little bit today, Christy. I'll leave that right there for now, okay? Sorry. So the $250,000 regarding this ad campaign, we'll do that first. $250,000 consulting contract went to American-Made Media, a firm tied to Trump campaign operatives and Corey Lewandowski. Now, which side of the bed, Christy, does Corey sleep on? Let's see. I wonder what side. Doesn't matter. Campaign-connected companies. This is from the Daily Beast. Firms linked to Noam's political campaign or advisors reportedly received parts of the advertising work. One contract reportedly allowed only about 31 hours for bids, which critics say favored the insiders. The story is there was a tip given in advance, just the tip. Sorry. There was a tip given in advance, and the only companies that got their bids in time happened to be the ones connected to Corey Lewandowski, and then others. And then senators, including Adam Schiff and Richard Blumenthal, questioned whether Lewandowski influenced the deal. Noam has denied directing the contracts and says the campaign followed government procedures. Her defense was DHS says the ads were necessary for border deterrence. Officials argue they saved taxpayers billions by reducing deportation costs. Question I have is that, Christy, so you're saying that this setup here was used to deport people? Really? Really? Really, Christy? Okay. Well, let's unpack that a little bit, shall we? So I'm gonna first start with Richard Blumenthal, because he's the one that sort of, I guess, did this first. Let me see if I got the right story here. Hang on a second. Here you go.
Did you explain this?
That's what he's talking about. This picture.
Sir, I'm looking at a picture of an interior. Looks like a bedroom.
Of an airplane?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
You're not familiar with that?
These photos are not accurate. If you're referring to the airplanes that the Department of...
The photo's not accurate? What? I mean, the photo's not accurate? Okay.
Homeland Security has purchased and are purchasing. We're using them for long-range command and control aircraft. That is...
Command and control, huh? Listen, I'm not judging your kinks. I don't see any handcuffs. I'm just curious.
Dictated in statute by Congress for the Department of Homeland Security to have a plane.
Luxury jet with a bedroom in it?
Yeah, we used a 737. I've been on it once, but it is being used by other administration officials, and it is used for command and control flights for the department.
Command and control? Hey, Christy. Hey, mods. We should send Christy and Corey the BDSM test. I'm just curious.
The department has found that in purchasing our aircraft, that we will save the taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars.
Does it have a bedroom?
In fact, we spent $1.42 billion on ICE deportation flights last year.
Does it have a bedroom in it?
I believe it's being refurbished and not having a bedroom in it. So it is being refurbished.
Okay.
What kind of deportee justifies being flown out of the country in a luxury jet with a bedroom and accommodations like this?
There are aircraft being purchased that will be utilized for executive air travel and for deportations.
Well,
if you remember in the past, we have used jets of this size and this configuration for deportations in the past. If you remember
So Christy, what you're saying is that size does matter? I'm just checking in. I want to make sure. Because we've always been told that it doesn't, but maybe in your case it does. Okay.
By this configuration, you mean with
I
a
didn't
bedroom
see the
and
inside
luxury
of them.
accommodations like this
That
you've
plane-
used for deportations. Is that true?
Sir, we have 737s that are being purchased by the department to replace contracts that we have on ICE deportations. That's what they're going to be used for. And in fact, the Coast Guard is the only entity within the Department of Homeland Security that has jets at this point in time. They had 2 G5s that were 20 to 25 years old that are being replaced so that they can continue to serve our Coast Guard and our military for years to come.
Do you remember the video that I played to start the show from the FBI agent about how they are just going to deflect and try to move on from the conversation and then belittle it and obfuscate and change the subject? The reason I played that to start the show today is because I knew we were going to get into this. Can you imagine being that fucking busted to have the photographs from inside the fucking jet? Don't forget, there was this story about Corey Lewandowski firing the pilot because she left her binky behind, her blanket. Is it not this blanket? Christy, I hope it was good. That's all I can tell you. I hope it was good. I hope it was good.
These aircraft, they've been reported as saying, although they don't want to say publicly this, but individuals described as senior administration officials have described these airplane purchases as the world's worst deal and an abuse of federal funds. Can you tell me what the Republicans on this committee who voted for what I call the billionaires bill that gave...
Listen, I fully support sex work, but $220 million? That's a big investment for a little D, Christy. I'm saying.
You the money to buy these jets knew about your plans to acquire luxury jets when they voted for that money.
The dollars for these airplanes was appropriated by Congress. In fact, it's mandated from Congress and rules that you've given us that we need to have a long-range command and control aircraft that will seat up to 7.
Command and control again. I'm just saying. Trafficking jets is what you're discussing. Queen size beds? You got 2 of them. All right.
17 people in the Department of Homeland Security for national security purposes. We are complying with the law. Those planes are being refurbished and will be utilized for that, and they'll be utilized by members of the administration and other components.
First,
they will also cut our costs, sir, by almost 40%. We are saving the taxpayer 40% by purchasing our own aircraft and operating them rather than being susceptible to the contracts that they have today.
We have an extra 2 minutes to fill in the filibuster there.
I'll give you 30 seconds beyond the 44.
So people can't afford health care. We've got Medicaid, Medicare cuts that are closing rural hospitals. SNAP benefits being cut. But don't worry, friends. We've got sex planes. We're good. We're good. I'm sure all the people that were handcuffed and shackled that were sent to CCOT, I'm sure they flew in these accommodations, right? Of course they did. I mean, of course they did. Sure, Christy. No problem. Okay. Nothing to see here. Anyway. Oh, we're not done with Christy. We're going to spend some time talking about Christy this morning. So that was Sheldon Whitehouse. I've always respected him. He's somebody that I would not mind seeing in Democratic leadership in the Senate. I think he's great. There's a few more. We've already played John Kennedy going after her. Let's get into Tom Tillis. Actually, here's a little bit more from Senator Kennedy. Here's a little bit more, just a little bit more, because he's not done. He's not done with her yet. He was kind, but not done.
The 2 killings in Minneapolis, and I think there's a lot of video on them, Madam Secretary. I think people can see the video and draw their own conclusions. Are you you and your department conducting an investigation of those?
Sir, the investigation is being led by the FBI. HSI was involved. In fact, our HSI agents on the ground.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got so little time. I believe at the time you said these were acts of domestic terrorism. Is that right?
Sir, in answer to questions at the press conference that afternoon, it appeared to be.
Yeah, but you said these appeared to be acts of domestic terrorism.
Okay. Is that what you said?
Ma'am, I did not.
Is that what you said? Is that what you said? Let me just double check. Is that what you said? Here we go. This is from yesterday's testimony as well. So let's just double check.
Call him a domestic terrorist. I said it appeared to be an incident of. When you perpetuate violence.
And then this goes back to January the 24th after this happened.
Violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
First of all, it's ideological, not ideological. It's ideological. Now, Christy, maybe you're thinking about alone time with Corey on the sex jet. Maybe. But you understand that you are fucking lying. You took an oath and you are trying to do the diversionary tactics. Right? You are fucking lying. Now you want to play did somebody just say the jizz jet? Oh my God. Oh my God. This is why I love you guys. This is why you're the smartest, best, awesome chat on fucking TikTok. You totally broke me. Yes. The 7-inch 47. Okay. Anyway, focus. Back to this.
And as I've said previously in this hearing, is that
first, Madam Secretary, did you say
we're getting information from a chaotic scene on the ground and relaying information to the American people.
Okay. Now, again, those videos are public. People can draw their own conclusions. I think it'd be safe to say you got some pushback on that. Would that be fair?
Yes, sir.
And you had some criticism. I'm not saying the criticism was accurate or inaccurate. I think you did. What got my attention was that you blamed those statements on Mr. Stephen Miller at the White House. Did you not?
No, sir.
Sorry. Landis, the Boeing 747.
I did not. And in fact, where you're seeing that is in a news article of anonymous sources. And anonymous sources say a lot of things, but I've never said that at all.
Well, here's what you said on the record.
Exactly. So just I'm gonna play this again. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm gonna play this again because part of the strategy from the strategy that we've all seen for years, right? The deflect, the deny, the obfuscate, the pivot, whatever that FBI agent rightfully called out is on full fucking display here. Anonymous smears. Thank you, Pete Hegseth. You can't take the word of the press, fake news, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here it is from the top, so we can capture all of it, and I'll shut up and try not to be a 12-year-old boy laughing at sex jokes, but they're funny.
2 killings in Minneapolis, and I think there's a lot of video on them, Madam Secretary. I think people can see the video and draw their own conclusions. Are you and your department conducting an investigation of those?
Sir, the investigation is being led by the FBI. HSI was involved. In fact, our HSI agents on the ground.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got so little time. I believe at the time you you said these were acts of domestic terrorism. Is that right?
Sir, in answer to questions at the press conference that afternoon, it was that it appeared to be.
Yeah, but you said these appeared to be acts of domestic terrorism.
And as I've said previously in this hearing, is that
first, Madam Secretary, did you say
we're getting information from a chaotic scene on the ground and relaying information to the American people.
Okay. Now, again, those videos are public. People can draw their own conclusions. I think it'd be safe to say you got some pushback on that. Mm-hmm. Would that be fair?
Yes, sir.
And you had some criticism. I'm not saying the criticism was accurate or inaccurate. Mm-hmm. I think you did. What got my attention was that you blamed those statements on Mr. Stephen Miller at the White House. Did you not?
No, sir, I did not. And in fact, where you're seeing that is in a news article of anonymous.
Oh, no. Oh, no, you did. We got you. Don't worry. We're going to address that, Christy.
Sources. And anonymous sources say a lot of things, but I've never said that at all.
Well, here's what you said on the record. I'm going to read your words. Quote, everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen.
Sir, where did you see me say that at? You read that in a news article with no sources
affiliated. You said it on the
to
record on January 27th of 2026. Did I read your words accurate?
I enjoy working with the president and with Stephen Miller, and that day we were working to get as much information to the American people as possible. That is what.
Name Mr. Miller?
Sir, I did not do that. Mm. You're reading from a newspaper article with anonymous sources.
Are you denying that you said that?
Sir, I'm not going to speak to that situation that is relayed on anonymous sources.
Notice you didn't answer the question. So, couple things. Let's discuss that specifically. What she said. I have it right here. Hang on a second. Give me a second. Everybody keep tapping, please. Hold on. This is, again, according to Axios, everything I've done, quote from Chris, again, this is the quote, everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen. Numerous agencies reported the same thing. I'm going to pivot just briefly for a second. This is the story about how Stephen Miller has been influencing all these policies. We talked about this before. Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who President Trump frequently relies on to shape immigration policy, was noticeably absent at an important meeting between several administration officials and the president himself. This was from a couple weeks ago. The meeting, which lasted at least 2 hours, included DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, Mile High Club, her primary advisor, Cora Lewandowski. Just saying. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, and Communications Director Stephen Chung. The Oval Office sit-down was held to discuss the public backlash to Trump's violent immigration raids, as well as the administration's false and derogatory comments regarding the killing of Minneapolis ICU nurse Alex Preddy by Border Patrol agents last weekend. So this is a few weeks back. Video of the incident shows that Preddy never attacked violently toward the agents who attacked him, despite being sprayed in the face with chemicals and thrown that held to the ground. Although he was armed, Preddy never reached for his weapon, and agents attacked him before they were aware of its existence. They also appeared to have removed his gun while restraining him before they shot him several times and refused to give him medical care for several minutes after he was shot. Several administration officials, including Noem and Miller, disparaged Preddy in the hours and days after his killing. Noem, for example, described Preddy as a domestic terrorist to the media and baselessly claimed the ICU nurse had, quote, planned to massacre immigration agents in the city. Miller also used those terms to describe Preddy and called him an assassin on social media due to him having concealed his weapon, which Preddy was legally allowed to carry. Trump also appeared to blame Preddy for his own killing in a post on Truth Social, again citing Preddy's possession of a concealed firearm. However, as it became clear, most Americans weren't buying the administration's brazenly false narratives on the unaliving. Trump has attempted to soften his description of what happened. Although they used similar terms to describe Preddy, Noem and Miller now seem to be at odds with each other, with Miller blaming Noem for the violent tactics in Minnesota and Noem claiming Miller was responsible for the disparaging terminology they used. According to reporting from Axios, at least 4 White House sources confirm that Miller pushed the use of the term massacre claim against Preddy. Although she technically outranks Miller by being a cabinet secretary, Noem also appears to be throwing him under the bus, telling the publication that she made the comments she did about Preddy because Miller told her so. Quote, everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen. Okay. Here's the statement. This is what she said again.
Ma'am, I did not call him a domestic terrorist. I said it appeared to be an incident of. When you perpetuate violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
Those are the facts, huh? Okay. So here's more. This is part of that around the same time. Now she's talking about Renee Good. This is a compilation that I found for you guys.
Officers had seen what they were facing on the streets every day and had talked to their supervisors. I had just been in Minneapolis and had been with those officers, had seen what they were facing on the streets every day, and had talked to their supervisors as soon as the incident happened and had gotten the facts and seen videos before I ever went to talk at that press conference. And the Trump administration and President Trump is the most transparent and open government that we've ever had.
Let's pause there. Again, that's part of the strategy. We're going to tell our base that this is the most transparent administration ever. Remember Hillary saying there's a tell. When they know that they're not something, they're going to tell you that they are something or vice versa. So we're going to, we know that we are without question the least transparent administration ever. We're just going to tell our people they are because they'll believe it.
Give the public the information, give them what they need to know about a situation so they can have the truth as soon as possible. If you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle, she weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public. What we do know is that this was clearly a law enforcement action where the officer acted on his training and defended himself and his life and his fellow colleagues. It's a tragedy that this family has lost a loved one and that our country is dealing with the situation. But that's why we need our leaders to turn down their rhetoric. We need individuals and elected leaders in Minnesota to start partnering with us so that we can do law enforcement operations on the streets to protect the citizens that live there.
Wake up, America. When a cabinet official brands Renee Good's actions as domestic terrorism over what video appears to show as refusing orders, possible obstruction, and then attempting to drive away, this is not just rhetoric. It is a dangerous escalation. In a tense moment, Good may have frustrated agents. She may even have been obstructive. But when we start calling everyday defiance terrorism, we cross a line that is hard to uncross. That label sends a message. It tells federal agents that interference, even minor interference, can justify extreme responses. It recasts ordinary Americans as enemy combatants instead of citizens with rights. And that framing has consequences. It chills free speech. It chills peaceful assembly. It chills dissent itself.
By design.
This should
By
alarm
design.
everyone. Left, right, center. Because when loaded words turn disagreement into terrorism, fear becomes policy. Concerned yet? We all should be. Freedom does not vanish overnight. It erodes, quietly, repeatedly, when language is weaponized.
So there's that. Back to her testimony, though.
After the two killings in Minneapolis, and I think there's a lot of video on them, Madam Secretary. I think people can see the video and draw their own conclusions. Are you and your department conducting an investigation of those?
Sir, the investigation is being led by the FBI. HSI was involved. In fact, our HSI agents on the ground.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got so little time. I believe at the time you said these were acts of domestic terrorism. Is that right?
You heard her sound.
Sir, in answer to questions at the press conference that afternoon, it appeared to be.
Yeah, but you said it appeared.
That's not what you said, Christy. Okay, we've already played the sound. You said these things. You connected what they were to acts of domestic terrorism, and then you connected them to Alex Preddy and to Renee Good. You're caught. We busted you. Okay. So, and at some point, we're going to hear from Dick Durbin. Can't you just fucking admit that you're wrong? That's coming up.
These appeared to be acts of domestic terrorism.
And as I've said previously in this hearing, is that
first, Madam Secretary, did you say
we're getting information from a chaotic scene on the ground and relaying information to the American people.
Unreal.
Now, again, those videos are public. People can draw their own conclusions. I think it'd be safe to say you got some pushback on that.
Yeah,
but that'd be fair.
Bit. Yes, sir.
And you had some criticism. I'm not saying the criticism was accurate or inaccurate. I think you did. What got my attention was that you blamed those statements on Mr. Stephen Miller at the White House.
Yeah, you did.
Did you not?
Yes, you did.
No, sir, I did not.
Yes, you did.
And in fact, where you're seeing that is in a news article of anonymous sources.
Oh, okay.
And anonymous sources say a lot of things, but I've never said that at all.
Well, here's
got it.
What you said on the record.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read your words. Quote, everything I've done at the direction of the president and Stephen.
Sir, where did you see me say that at? You read that in a news article with no sources affiliated to it.
You said it on the record on January 27th of 2026. Did I read your words accurate?
I enjoy working with the president and with Stephen Miller, and that day we were working to get as much information to the American people as possible.
Man.
That is what we'll continue to do, and as that happens, we'll go forward.
Do you think it was fair to blame Mr. Miller?
Sir, I did not do that. You're reading from a newspaper article with anonymous sources.
Are you denying that you said that?
Sir, I'm not going to speak to that situation that is relayed on anonymous sources.
That's a tell right there. Are you denying that you said that? It's a simple question. This is the thing. Listen, you've already lied numerous times. You've lied about, cock air or whatever, the jizz jets. You've lied about all those things. You should just continue to lie. You're asked a simple question. Do you deny saying that? And then you pivot. This goes back to the strategy that we discussed before, right? So I'm gonna pause just briefly in case those of you who did not join us. I'm just gonna play this former FBI agent again. I think the timing is appropriate because I want you to remember this. Now that we've heard what we've heard this morning, you can add this to the list of the bullshit that Christy's telling, and then the style of which she's telling it.
A liar. But I do have decades of experience watching people lie. And here are 4 techniques they resort to when they're cornered. The first is deflection.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records.
Make it about something or somebody else. Try to stop the line of questioning altogether by bringing up unrelated issues, and in this case, really unrelated issues. Maybe they'll forget they asked the question in the first place. Next is something called obfuscation.
Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
So in response to a question that's as clear as day, the person suddenly appears confused. And in their mind, if they're confused about the question, they shouldn't have to answer it. Moving on, let's take a look at the overt display of contempt.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes or no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No, A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F.
Hey, Smitty.
This is another form of deflection, but with a healthy dose of arrogance thrown in. Instead of answering the question, they belittle it, and they belittle the person asking it. The overall strategy is the same, though. Avoid the direct answer that you can't afford to give. Number 4 is something we see a lot of nowadays, and I like to call it whataboutism.
None of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein.
Wait, you think I did something wrong? Well, what about that guy?
That's right.
As if someone else's actions somehow excuse your own. Folks, when you have the truth on your side, you don't need deflection or obfuscation or any of that. You just answer the question. Otherwise, you run the risk of being called a liar, and nobody wants that. What other ways do people avoid telling the truth? Share your thoughts.
So again, now that you've heard not only Pam Bondi's testimony, Kash Patel's testimony, and others, and soon to be Howard Nuttlick, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but Kristi Noem from yesterday, and then you hear that gentleman's description, and you hear Hillary talking about her time as a prosecutor, and then when you're talking to people, what their tells are. This is the entire fucking game that they're playing. They're not going to answer direct questions. They can't because they're breaking the fucking law. She labeled Alex Preddy and Renee Good as domestic terrorists. It's in the chat. Join our Discord. The link is in the general chat to that little statement there. She did it. There's no denying that she did it. She can say, well, I didn't say that Alex Preddy was, but she talked about what he did and then said those are acts of domestic terrorism. That's what it is. Plain and fucking simple. Okay? Plain and fucking simple. Trump never answers questions directly. Caroline Leavitt never answers questions directly. The entire fucking cabinet. Hegseth, all of them. The problem is that they're not very good at it. That's what it comes down to. Back to Election Day yesterday. If you would like to have these people dragged in front of Congress and potentially the Senate to be impeached, then you have to vote, no matter who the Democrat is in your state, in your district, to be your representative, whether they be in the Senate or they be in the House. You have no choice. You have absolutely no choice. Speaking of dashing smart individuals, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing good. I was literally, it's like, I want to request up. I'm just waiting for the right time. And you started talking about election. I want to first, I know the spotlight was on Texas. Congrats to the blue dots in Arkansas for flipping North Little Rock, District 70. For flipping District 70 in Arkansas. Congrats to the blue dots in Arkansas. That's the biggest thing to me that happened yesterday. To me, flipping Arkansas, District 70. Yes, it was a state seat. It doesn't matter. Congrats to Arkansas for doing that.
Agreed.
Congrats to everybody. I believe the votes maybe are still counting. To the Democrats that went out and voted in the primary in Texas, I believe it's somewhere around closer to 3 million. Congrats to everybody that went out and actually had your voice heard. You all voted, and y'all that voted wanted James. I would love to see 60%, 70% turnout for November. Please.
Same.
I hear all the time from my friends in Texas that Texas is heavy Democrat. There's more liberals in Texas. I get it. Gerrymandered, but this is a Senate race. Please, 60, 70, 80% turnout. Please. It's going to be tough seeing Jasmine leave Congress. I feel for that, but you guys wanted James. You guys got James. Please turn out. North Carolina, the biggest takeaway from North Carolina is obviously Roy Cooper.
Mm-hmm. Popular governor, former governor, very popular guy. Yep.
Love to see, everyone please turn out. Please continue to vote. Next one is the next big election is on the 10th. I put links all over the place in many people's Discords. If you're not in Fax's Discord, what are you doing? Why are you here? Please go in Fax's Discord. It's in Ari's Discord. It's RJ's Discord, Hector's Discord. But please stay on top of your elections. The next one is the 10th. I believe it's statewide for Mississippi. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, but Georgia, big one. MTG on the 10th. That is the special election to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. The 10th.
That's I have that on the 19th. Wait a minute. I'll have to double check that. I've got some conflicting data because you're the second person that's told me that now. We'll confirm that.
Okay.
Either way. The point is the point is show the fuck up. That's the point.
To the person that said, does she stay in the House? No, she gave up her bid for re-election in the House. So what is it? Come November, December, she's not going to be there anymore. For those that are wondering why and all this stuff, gerrymandering had her House seat pitted against another Democrat. She wanted the other black Democrat in that was smashed together with her district to run for that one, and she wanted to take the Senate seat. I have feelings about her going in late. I know I haven't bars, but it is what it is. This is where we are. We'll see her again. She's not going to be.
Agreed.
She's not going to be out of Congress forever. We'll see her again. Everyone, please go out and vote.
Agreed.
But yeah, congrats
well
Texas,
said,
congrats to the Democrats in Arkansas, and congrats to everybody in North Carolina. Y'all did that. Y'all came out and vote. Congratulations.
Well said, friend. I appreciate you very much for being here. Thanks for doing all your great work. You guys don't follow Manny, please do. We thank you, my friend. Thanks for being here. Have a good day. Be safe out there. He's right. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? Now, I understand. Listen, this is a really, really important moment. I want to remind folks of this again. Okay, I've seen people that are angry this morning that Jasmine lost. I get it. Be angry every single day between now and Election Day. And then when Election Day comes, go to the polls and vote for James Tellerico. It's that simple. Just go do that. Just go do that. Please. Eris, how are you this morning?
Oh, I'm good. And how are you, Steve?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking. What's on your mind?
So I was watching the Hegseth press conference today, and the funniest thing happened. So I'm watching it, and you know how there's that new warning on TikTok to be careful of your sources when you're sharing stuff. Make sure that it's the correct info and it's not misinformation. That popped up on the Reuters feed.
Really?
Well,
there you go. There you go. That says a lot. That says a lot.
So that's all I wanted to share was I saw that and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a direct source and they're saying it's not.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for that. I'm sure we'll probably find this. We'll probably find some sound for that. Although we'll probably get our live taken down if we play it. But it is what it is. But thank you for letting us know that. I appreciate you.
I have a screenshot that I could send you with it.
Oh, sure. Send it in the Discord.
All right, will do. Thank you.
Thanks, Eris. Love you too. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Well, that's pretty freaking hilarious. Doesn't surprise me though. Let me just double check with my amazing team here. Hang on one sec. That's the story there, yes. Okay, here's a tweet as we were just talking about Jasmine. This is from her ex-post. This morning, this is from Jasmine Crockett at, 8:42 a.m. this morning. This morning, I called James and congratulated him on becoming the Senate nominee. Texas is primed to turn blue, and we must remain united because this is bigger than any one person. This is about the future of all 30 million Texans and getting America back on track. With the primary behind us, Democrats must rally around our nominees and win. I'm committed to doing my part and will continue to work to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. Crockett voters, your queen is giving you direction. She is telling you to do all the good things and stand up and vote for James Tallarico. Can you do that? Can you do that? If you were across the table from Jasmine Crockett right now and you're disappointed that she lost and she said to you, listen, I understand. Thank you for your vote. Thank you for your support. Now I need you to go to the polls in November and vote for James Tallarico. Are you going to tell her no? Are you going to tell her no? Really? That's selfish. That's selfish. She's given you direction. She's given you the assignment. What are you going to do?
Good morning.
Pumpkin. Good morning.
You know, it's weird because Jasmine Crockett has so much more experience than James Tallarico does. And yet she still didn't win the primary. And I think for a lot of Black women like me, it's very reminiscent of what happened with Harris. And it's incredibly frustrating. It's incredibly demoralizing in a way. But at the same time, I mean, for Black women, she didn't even need to give that statement because we'll still vote for him. It's just worthy of noting that for James Tallarico to win, he had to get people who were MAGA and who were conservative to vote for him. That big tent approach doesn't just mean, oh, he attracted the most left of the leftists. He also attracted people who voted 3 times for Donald Trump. People like the young women that we see up and down our For You page who's crying because people are holding her accountable for voting for Donald Trump 3 times. Those are the kind of people he attracted to vote for him. Now, of course, you know, Black women, I think, you know, Hispanic women, immigrant women in general, they're going to do what they have to do because we always do what we have to do. But, you know, for her to have that much experience, she's an attorney. She spent years in the House of Representatives at the federal level. And this man gets to go from the state house to the Senate, to a Senate race. Like he bypassed the U.S. House of Representatives altogether. It just shows how deeply entrenched racism and misogyny is in our world.
Totally agree.
Because those people who voted for Trump that made this big tent thing that James Tallarico wants to do could have went to Crockett. They could have went and voted for her. They could have said, well, she's a lawyer. She has experience. She kind of reminds me of Harris. I'll go and vote for her. But they didn't. And, you know, that's the nature. And I know for my group, we're taking a big rest and everything. And it feels like the rest should just be extended because all of these things we're trying to do with our sororities, with our D9s, with our groups and everything, you know, it seems like people are fine with us feeding them and taking care of their babies. And, you know, if you feel scared, just look for a Black woman doing all that. But they don't trust us in federal government. So, you know, that's unfortunate. And I can definitely, I think Jasmine Crockett did a very courageous thing and good thing in saying, hey, just do what you got to do. But, you know, she was mostly, I think, speaking to demographics outside of her demographic. But at the same time, it's just another signal that, you know, hey, you know, we're not wanted. And sometimes rejection is protection, and you just have to deal with that. And kind of on another note, I was talking to my father yesterday, and he was saying all the people that he wanted to run for president, and he wanted, Harris to try again and all that kind of stuff. And I just told him, just let's put it out there. You need the tallest, most handsome white man you can find with a good head of hair. That will guarantee us a win in 2028. Don't play around. Don't say, oh, I want the first Indian president. I want the first Chinese president. I want this and that. Just a tall white man with a good head of hair and high cheekbones. That's what people want. So I think that's what people should get. And I just am very wary of Tellerico because of the people he attracted. Sure. And when you make people part of your constituency, your job is to honor your constituency. And you have to keep that in mind. So what constituency is he honoring?
It's a very fair point. It's a very fair point. It's a very fair point. And I think what I've been trying to remind folks over the past couple of weeks is we need to listen to Black women, because like you stated, Pumpkin, here's a situation where you know full well what you're going to do. You know what most members of your community are going to do right when the time comes, general election, because what choice do you have? And that's what goes back to the situation that we have with entitled white people, especially people on the left who may have campaigned hard for Jasmine, which I respect. But now that she's not the nominee, are you just going to put your hands up and say, I'm done? When you have a seat in Texas that is winnable, that is a Senate seat that we can flip. Now, yes, he's attracted a broad appeal. He's peeled off some conservative voters. I'm not sure about how many MAGA voters he's peeled off necessarily, but we'll find that out down the road. But we're talking about potential Supreme Court seats, right? That's that people have to consider that. As a senator, you have influence over who sits on the Supreme Court. And there will be changes to the court over the next 4 to 6 years, no doubt about it. So what would your message be to white America, Pumpkin?
I don't really have a message anymore. Vote Democrat or else you'll pay higher prices. Democrats always fix the economy. Bill Clinton was the first one with a balanced budget. If you vote Democrat, they'll recognize that you actually have a need for bodily autonomy. And if you want to go further left, what you have to realize is that you have to have a platform or a foundation to build on. You can't push people further to the left if someone makes it illegal for you to vote. So you have to think which party is going to make it easier for me to vote, easier for me to exercise my rights. At this point, it's the Democratic Party. We've seen it over and over again, not to mention the fact that this whole Epstein Files thing, this is a cherry on top of a very ugly cake. Throughout the decades, Republicans in state legislatures have overwhelmingly voted against consent laws. They've overwhelmingly voted against statutes of abandoning statutes of limitation. This party is very deeply entrenched in a culture of abusing children. I'll put it lightly. And it's nothing new for their party. This is just the cherry on top. So if you want to keep your kids safe, if you want to keep your wife safe, if you want to be able to be free enough to, establish your own business, buy your own house, send your kids to college for an affordable price, have health care, have all the things that every other advanced nation has, you have to vote Democrat. You don't have a choice at this point. Okay, don't be cute, because I'm very far left. I am not, if I were to honor my true self, I am not a Democrat. I am like a socialist. I don't think capitalism is dying. I think it's already dead and we're at the wake. Okay, so, but you have to put people in power that you can push further to the left. That you can push. And you don't want the United States to revert back to like a early 90s Republican type of thing, because we're too damaged for that to work. We need some true change. If you know anything about physics, it's very difficult to go from a highly entropic to low entropic system. We are highly disordered right now. So what we have to do is disperse our energy into a new system. And I'm not necessarily bitter, but it's just, it is what it is. But yes, vote Democrat. Make sure you do that always and forever. And once we get to a point where the Democratic Party is the more conservative party, as it is in most nations, and then you have another party which is offering more modern and more less leftist alternatives, then we can talk about it. But you need the foundation, and the foundation is Democrats.
It's like public transportation, right, Pumpkin? The Democratic Party is like it's like a bus. It'll take me 3 blocks within my house, and I'm willing to walk the rest of the way to get more progressives elected.
Yes,
that's kind of how I see it. Yeah,
and if you vote for Democrats, they'll not only put you in the bus and take you 3 blocks, but there might be an electric car waiting for you if you vote the right way to take you the rest of the way. Call. That's the point.
Good call. That's great. Thank you so much for jumping in today.
Thank you
very much. I appreciate you very much. Do the same. Be safe out there. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's kind of this is the fight that we've all been fighting forever. And we're here now. Please do yourself and the rest of us an honor in listening to Black women. Hello, my friend. How are you today?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. I wanted to piggyback off of what Pumpkin was saying in regards to the election in Texas. And I just wanted to say, I feel that in Texas, with Jasmine not winning and her also being overly qualified for the job and still not getting the vote, I wanted to say that the reason why I feel like that will create a young Black reluctant vote. And I say that because as a young Black person, I would see it as, dang, this lady is, first, if as a young voter, I'm going to look at it like, dang, she's overqualified, but yet she did not make it. We all know the reason why. However, in this situation with Tallarico is that when it comes to the Black voter, we are reluctant of someone like Tallarico because he's too similar to the ones that do not support the Black community. And when I say that, I say, even though he's a Democrat, he's also now adopted another type of supporter as well. And I feel like when he does become Senate, because he will become the senator, I feel that who he's going to focus his support for. Is it going to be that turned supporter that turned from Trump and bringing their own thoughts and things to the Tallarico base? Is he going to focus on the new supporters, or are he going to support everyone in an equal manner, if that makes sense? Because I feel like he's going to get so caught up into pleasing these turned Trump supporters is that's going to be his focus. And then we're going to lose the plot. That is why I feel like Tallarico is a risk, is because he looks too similar to those that do not agree with the progressive movement. I also feel like if he can continue to keep religion out of his policy and continue to keep religion out of his direction or anything like that, he may have a good run. But him being a preacher, and this is coming from a person who grew up in the church, and I feel like I am a Christian. No, I wouldn't say I'm a Christian. No, I wouldn't say that. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus, but I have my own relationship when it comes to that. That's my about it. But I do feel like, I don't know, it's going to cause a reluctancy. That's what I feel.
Can I challenge that a little bit?
Sure. Yes, please.
So I completely understand what you're saying. And just to piggyback on something that Pumpkin said as well, we are like, I think we've all got reasons to be suspicious because I think we saw Kristen Sinema and we saw Joe Manchin and we saw John Fetterman. I don't put Tallarico in their category. Because I knew that this comparison was going to come. I don't put him in that category. The reason I don't is because I've researched his campaign. He's been pretty consistent. They weren't consistent.
Right.
They were susceptible to being influenced. Now, not to say that anyone is not susceptible to being influenced. I just don't see that yet from him. I wanted Jasmine Crockett to be in the Senate. I wanted
of course,
that. I had my doubts that she was going to win the election for obvious reasons.
Correct.
But I don't want us to put James Tallarico in the Cinema Fetterman mansion box yet.
Okay.
Because if we do that, then I think what you're alluding to is going to turn off voters.
Gotcha.
And if we want any shot to try to change things and to become more democratically socialist or to become more progressive. Yes, he's a moderate, but I don't think he would stand in the way. Like, I think he would push for universal health care if legislation was introduced. I think he would push for women's rights to their body because he's talked about it on the campaign trail and he's been consistent about it. So I don't want us to, I hear what you're saying. It's legitimate. I can't speak for your community. And I'm not, I hope you know that we've been friends on this space.
Oh, of course.
I'm not doing that.
No. I love this.
Yeah.
Because you opened my view. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I definitely agree with you of his consistency. I do agree with that. I also agree, and I have noticed that he does continue to keep religion out of his own movement and how he governs. And I do agree with that. He's very consistent with that. And that's why I mentioned that I pray that he continues that route. I just know that as things get closer, things change. I also noticed that, he's never done like a campaign to where he smears, but yet there was a little smear in this situation with him and Jasmine in regards to an email that he sent. And it's just, where there's a nugget, where there's a seed, it has potential to grow. And I just pray that he continues to remain consistent. That's where I pray for. That's it. Of course, if I was in Texas, he would get my vote. I don't give a damn. You know what I mean? Like,
I figured that.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, harm reduction, whether it's for my community or not, it is what it is. A Democrat is going to get my vote automatically. Yeah. And exactly. I am more progressive than I am a Democrat, but I know how to vote. You know what I mean? I know how to vote. I know what to do. You know what I mean? You do what you need to do. But I just and just being on the left and on this side of politics, I am happy to be able to say that I can also vote for someone and also have the same mindset of, you got my vote and I hope that you do well with my vote. I hope that you win and do the right thing with the vote. You know what I mean? Because you can't give a person a vote after they show you where they are. You get the vote first and then they show you. So I just, when it comes to the point, yes, definitely vote for him. No ifs, ands about it, hands down. But I also have a reluctancy, and I just wanted to show that different type of vote. You get what I'm saying? To where I know logically with common sense who to vote for. I'm not, I'm not a fool, but I also know that my vote is not just for me. My vote is for others that it may affect. So I know that in this way of voting, even though I have reluctancy in my heart, logically, I know what's right to do, and that's to vote blue.
I got you.
And I just wanted to show that, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's just honest.
Exactly. That's why we're having these conversations. If every Crockett voter voted for James Tallarico, he would represent Texas in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
And your options are either Ken Paxton or John Cornyn.
And neither one of them are going to get it.
It seems to be a pretty logical decision from my perspective.
Yeah.
We have to stop
the vote is black
perfection,
and white.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you very much, and I love talking to you. Have a good day. Be safe.
You too. Have a great one, everybody.
Take care. Bye. I get it. That's why we have these conversations. See, this is why you guys are the smartest fucking chat on TikTok. Just love it. Just absolutely love it. We have to. I can't. Texas got to rally behind James Tallarico because your options are either John Cornyn or Ken Paxton. That's a clear choice. I can't see. Do you want Ken Paxton, who's been suppressing the vote of black communities since he was the AG? Do you want John Cornyn, who wants to pass things like this, the SAVE Act, to making sure they can delegitimize voters and disenfranchise voters? John Cornyn, who would absolutely sign a federal abortion ban if it came across his desk? John Cornyn, who would support a Trump nominee to the Supreme Court? Think about big picture. It's not just about the candidate. It's what's at stake. There will be 2 new Supreme Court justices within the next 4 to 6 years. There's no doubt about that. Who do you want confirming those people? Who do you want? Exactly. Cornyn would do whatever Trump asks. Exactly right. Big picture. Jasmine's going to be out campaigning for Tallarico. Yeah, so apparently there's talk about Jasmine Crockett going on the campaign trail. So then I'll ask Crockett voters that have been here, and I've seen some people with some strong feelings this morning, which is great. That's what we want. That means you're engaged. Right? That's awesome. Here's the scenario. You're sitting in a room with Jasmine, and she's talking to you all, and she says, thank you for your support. I really appreciate you guys coming out to support for me. We lost. James Tallarico won. Please vote for him. Are you going to tell her no? I don't think you would. I really don't. Okay. Got a few more folks that have requested. I'll try to get you guys. We'll get back to covering Kristi Noem because we're not done dragging Kristi yet. Phenomenon, how are you this morning?
Hi there.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal Key. Yes. Hi there, Steve. How are you? I just was listening.
Fine, thanks.
I'm here in Texas, and I voted Crockett. But I voted Crockett because, we just want to make sure that we propel her to where she needs to be. But I don't think she's done here. And but if Tallarico is who we go with, we strap up our boots and we pivot and we put that energy behind Tallarico. The point is not to participate, it is to win. We want to win. We want to put a stop on all the stuff that we're experiencing. We don't want to just rally behind Jasmine Crockett because she is a black woman. We know we are well qualified. We know we are well worthy. We know we are wanted, but we know how the game goes. So if we don't want to participate and we want to win, we know what it's time to do. We need to now turn that energy, just like Jasmine said, and we need to put our energy behind Tallarico. I don't want that to take the wind out of ourselves as a black woman. I'm a black woman, and I don't want us to continue to get hung up on this idea that because she wasn't placed in the position that we think she's worthy of in this moment, that we should now be upset and take it as a loss to black women or the black community. We've seen it with Kamala. We've seen it with Kamala. We've seen it with Stacey Abrams. We've seen this play before, but that's not what we should focus on. We should not throw things out there like that because it dilutes our vote. It takes our vote from where we need our vote to be. And our vote needs to be behind Tallarico. It's never going to be behind Cornyn or Paxton. They're going to have their own fight of their own. We need to focus on getting kind of a grassroots situation going on. And I might just have to push back a little bit on the last caller because I feel like faith is something that, is a strong point for Tallarico. And if he's going to pull over voters, because let's not be blind at the fact that some of those Trump voters are looking for a place to go. And if Tallarico looks like a safe space for them to go and kind of play on the fence for a little bit, let them go there, right? We don't want to demonize him because he's making a safe space for people who probably were pushed or forced into, voting the way they voted for whatever reason. We need to honor that they're now getting a change of heart. Let's not demonize them. If they find that Tallarico is a safe place to go, then fine. But we should not take our support from that because we don't like who he's attracting. He can't help who he attracts, but as long as he stays, solid to his plan, consistent to the way he's been. I've watched him for a little while, and he's a consistent man. He's what Texas needs. He's very consistent, and his message doesn't change. He knows how to read a room, and he's going to give us what we need here in Texas. So my message to Black women is to not be discouraged, to not be tied up on the fact that a Black woman lost. We get it. I got it. We get the message, but I believe there's so much more for her to do. We need her voice in other places, and maybe she doesn't need to be locked into the Senate, but it's what we wanted. That's not what we're going to get. About face, pivot, and let's go for Tallarico. But Jasmine will get a spot somewhere else within government. I'm almost sure of it. However, we need to just worry about Tallarico right now. That's our focus, and I'm glad Texas went with that. Is because at the end of the day, going up against Paxton or Cornyn or whoever it is, he has the better chance. And again, it's about winning.
Something you said, I think, is absolutely no notes. One thing I want to jump on, because I think it's really, really important. Like if we were to say, if Joe Biden allowed his personal views on women's reproductive rights to come into play, he would have come out against it. He separated his personal views on women's bodily autonomy from politics. I think that's all we can ask for. Right? That's all we can ask for. Don't allow your beliefs to dominate your decisions when it comes to passing law and legislation. I think that's that's kind of where I see Tallarico. Right. You know, he's been consistent. The government should not be telling women what to do with their bodies. Plain and simple.
Simple.
That's it. So
no matter how I feel about it personally, he's consistent on that. And again, we're looking for this perfect candidate, and it really doesn't exist. And we get knocked down in the weeds about that, and we start going at someone's, this, or they said that, or maybe they attracted five Trump voters. Hey, it is what it is. But as long as he's showing up being the same consistent person that we have seen, then we're going to have to go with it. Don't give somebody a strike if they haven't given you a reason to put one on them. So, it's just really important for us to not, do that. Cause I think as far as, and I feel like I'm a progressive. So I think as far as in the Democratic Party, that's something that we really get caught up on. We start getting caught up on, little messages that are irrelevant to the mission. And if we do that, it plays the voter suppression game. And we don't want to do that. It's because it leaves people confused. And you don't know you're doing it, but you're doing it. So, let's do what we need to do and keep flipping seats and keep getting the wins. Is because it's in our reach, and we don't need to be deterred.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you. Thanks for jumping in today. I just followed you.
Of course.
Please come back.
Of course.
I appreciate you very much. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
You too. Yes.
That's part of it, right? I mean, I'm glad we had those calls back to back to back, because that's kind of the point, right? We have to stop looking for perfection in our candidates, because we're never going to find it. I want people to be angry today that Jasmine lost. I wanted her to win too. I really did. I'm not in Texas. I don't, I don't have a vote there, but I wanted her to win. I supported her campaign. Here's the thing though. We've got to stop looking for perfection. So to me, the simple truth, Texas voters, you are going to have a decision to make on election day. It's either James Tallarico, who's been consistent, who's been, who is going to attract some moderate voters, or it's going to be either Ken Paxton or John Cornyn. If every Crockett voter who showed up yesterday turns out for James Tallarico in November, then James Tallarico will represent Texas in the United States Senate. And that has potential to change the makeup of the Supreme Court. That has the potential to change the makeup of our entire system of government, whether it be the Electoral College or expanding DC to become a state, to have more rights, to have more protections for marginalized communities. We've got to stop thinking of it in terms of the election itself. So, yeah. Keep the faith, guys. Hang in there. Hello there, friend. How are you? I saw you in the comments.
Good morning. Hey, chat. So I want to remind everybody globally, but especially other Black women, to give grace to the Black women who are in a different space than they are. Everybody, we don't always just want to move on. It's not even been 24 hours that Jasmine lost the race, and it's valid that people feel a certain kind of way because it's very reminiscent of Kamala Harris as well as Stacey Abrams. So this isn't a one and done type of thing. So these things are constantly coming up. And for people just to tell other black women specifically to just move on, we have to do X, Y, and Z, we're gonna do it. Like let's be honest. Globally, black women do what the hell they're supposed to do as far as voting is concerned. But let us have a damn day, a fucking 24 hours or something. Like, shut the fuck up already about this stuff. Like, people are entitled to say they're disappointed. People are entitled to say they don't trust James Tallarico. They're entitled to say that if those are the feelings that are coming up for them. They're not, nobody's saying, I'm not going to vote for him, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Nobody's saying that, but they are saying they have valid concerns. They're saying that, you know, we want to see him more in the black community, talking to the black voters about, you know, making sure that we have these safeguards when he is representing Texas in the big house out in DC. And that's all that I'm saying. So, you know, don't be so dismissive to everybody and everybody's feelings, especially not within 24 hours. Like damn, the ink ain't even dry yet. Like, chill out.
It's true. It's true. It's a good
Chill
point.
out.
It's a
So
great point.
you all don't need to worry about the black vote. Like, we know what we're supposed to be doing. Nobody's gonna not vote. It's way too important. And I think everybody understands. I'm not even from Texas and I watch the Texas race. I'm not from these other places and I watch the races and I pay attention to them. I'm in a blue state and a blue city. It's going blue, period, in Chicago, Illinois. It's happening. So I watch other races to see what the climate is across the country. And, you know, I'm disappointed at some races and I wish I have seen other candidates globally, not just, it has nothing to do just with Texas. We just don't have a lot of black representation in the Senate, period. And I have a problem with that. But we also have black candidates here that's going to be on the ballot for Illinois for Senate. So we might have a black woman replacement for Dick Durbin, just FYI everybody. So you all look at our race up here too. Even though it's gonna go blue, we still might get a black woman up here coming out of Chicago. So you know, just be mindful of that. You know, everybody, give people grace. It's not even 24 hours. Kamala was extremely traumatic for a lot of us, especially me. Every time I see her, I'm just like, why? And now I had those same feelings with Jasmine. And again, I'm not even a Texas voter, and I watched it all night long. So, you know, just give some grace that we're okay. We're allowed to mourn. We're allowed to be upset. We're allowed to be reluctant of James Tallarico. And it doesn't mean that we're gonna withhold our vote from him. And I say we because I'm speaking just for black women. We're not going to withhold a vote from him, knowing what we have to do in that state and what we can do.
I'm with you. I'm not. I'm personally not worried about black women because black women always show up. I'm more concerned about entitled leftists, quite frankly, that look like me. That's my concern. That's why they've been a target of mine. You know, again, it's the same old wanting change. That's my concern. And those are the people that I'm going to be speaking to more and more every day. So there you go. You're right. Like I said to start, mourn, grieve, be angry leading up to election day. And then when election day comes, you have a choice between James Tallarico and either Ken Paxton or John Cornyn. It seems like it would be a pretty easy choice.
Yeah, I would think so too. Like, the Republicans need to wrap it up in Texas for real. Like, I don't know what this whole Greg Abbott fascination is with them down there, but you all need to get rid of him. Texas.
Preach. Yes.
Goodness.
Ferry, thank you as always, friend. I appreciate you as always.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Have a good one.
Bye. Take care. You too. Take care. I think the message is pretty clear this morning, right? Absolutely dissect it. Understand why. From a political science perspective, I wish Jasmine was in the race sooner. That would be my only criticism of her campaign. That'd be it. She ran a unique campaign. She raised a lot of money quickly. There's a lot of corporate money connected to that. Again, to be critical, that's a reason to criticize anyone. I want to change I want to change campaign finance laws to begin with. I just want to change all of it. I really want to get rid of all of that. But that would be my only criticism. The fact that she got as much of the vote as she did in such a short time, that's pretty indicative. We know why she lost, though. Let's be real. But we know why she lost. So I want Texas to understand what's at stake. Plain and simple. That's my hope. Okay, got a few more folks that are requesting. A lot of people in the chat today. I will try to get to everybody. I can't promise I will, but I'll do my best. Voter suppression, racism, bigotry, misogyny. That's my reasons. Dottie, how are you today? Dottie, are you there? Dottie? I guess not. Progressive in your pocket. Good morning, the dumb Texas.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
So I also voted for Jasmine. Not too happy this morning, but like you've been saying, James is going to be our guy now. We have to go with the safest bet. I think it was Pumpkin a little bit ago that was saying that it's like we need to pick the safest pick. And I remember after the election, Jasmine was on the Sunday show saying right now, she was talking about the presidential election in 28, but she's like, right now we need to pick the safest white boy, basically. And
yeah.
James is a pretty safe white boy, so
seems like that.
But one thing I also wanted to bring up is that if you look at the numbers, Jasmine got more votes than the Republican candidates did.
Notice that. Yeah, exactly. So that's just my point. That was the point that I made earlier. If all of those voters showed up and supported Tallarico come to general, then he's your next senator.
Yeah, and that just proves that they're like other people have been saying, is that there are more Democrats in Texas than there are Republicans, but it's just gerrymandered to crap. So
it's correct. It's correct. That's why a statewide election is a little bit different. Just because all votes count in the state. It's not divided by congressional district. It's a Senate race. It's the entire state. Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. Yeah, I know. Agree. Grieve today. Everybody can be angry. Grieve, and that's you don't need me to tell you that. Just do what you got to do, and then when the time comes, hopefully you'll do the right thing.
Yeah, and like you, I also pray for the matriarchy. So,
let's go. Thanks for being here today, friend. I appreciate you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Have a good day. Be safe. Yeah, I mean, it's right. I mean, it's simple math, right? It's a math game. I know they're still counting the votes from Dallas County. It doesn't look like there's enough votes, even those people had to be redirected to different precincts and different polling locations, right? It doesn't look like there's enough. I think he ended up with like a 10-point margin, so that's a lot of votes. But I should say, and she got more votes than either of the Republicans. Now, the strategy the Republicans had got kind of twisted because I think his name is Wesley Hunt, jumped into the race relatively late and got 13% of the vote, which diluted votes for both Cornyn and Paxton, which didn't allow them to get to 50%, which is why they have a runoff coming up in May. So we'll see. There's a lot that we have to address here. I got a lot of folks that have requested. Like I said, I'll try to get to everybody today. I do want to get back to a couple other things here in the news, but that's good. This is the conversations that people want to have today. So there you go. So Maureen, how are you today?
I'm good. So was that the jump in at the last minute? Was that supposed to affect the Democrats? I mean, that's weird.
No, it diluted on the Republican side. It just diluted the votes from the Republicans because 13% of the people that voted in the Republican primary voted for Wesley Hunt. So if he's not in the race, then math would tell you that someone would have likely gotten above 50%, and there wouldn't have been a runoff.
That's so dumb. Why would they do that? And big question.
Well, that's the Republican Party today.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
I get it. Stupid. I was going to tell you or ask you what you thought about. I don't know. Are you following any races like governor of Michigan? This Perry Johnson guy. He's 79. Trumper from thick and thin. He says he saved the auto industry in Michigan. He did not.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, they're just gonna, they flew to the moon. They caught Moby Dick. They're just gonna say everything these days, and that's how that's the game that they'll play.
Well,
thanks for jumping in today. Go ahead.
Right.
You have something else you want to say?
No.
Okay. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Have a good day. So here we sit, right? So a couple little things. I just want to briefly get back to some of the things that we were discussing here. I want to briefly, I've got more to play on Kristi Noem, but I want to make sure that we cover this because, again, war powers resolution, confliction as to whether or not the president notified anybody. Well, there was, this is the president talking about the evacuation plan for people in the region, U.S. citizens, embassy employees, etc. And it's pretty obvious they had no fucking plan.
All very quickly. We thought, and I thought maybe more so than most, I could ask Marco, but I thought we were going to have a situation where we were going to be attacked. They were getting ready to attack Israel. They were getting ready to attack others. You're seeing that right now. And a lot of those missiles that are hitting in, those are stationary. Those were aimed there for a long period of time at these other countries. So I think I was right about that. We attacked first. And if we didn't, it could have been, look, we're really decimating them. They're being decimated.
So I'm going to pause briefly there and remind our Trump supporters, because those of you who are in the chat today, I want you to listen to this. There was not enough notification to allow people to evacuate. This was an action directed clearly and solely under the Trump administration. There is no one else to blame. The withdrawal from Afghanistan was also a plan that was initiated by the Trump administration. The Biden administration extended that time so that people could evacuate. So when you start complaining and you want to go back in time to blame Joe Biden again, what about Biden? Then guess what? You've lost the plot there too. Because people left behind in Iran, in Iran, and in that region were not notified in advance to get enough time to leave. So again, you can try to deflect all you want, but your argument fails on its face. So this is Andy Kim, Senator Andy Kim, and talking again about what the president just said, that we didn't have a plan. We didn't really think we needed a plan. He left a briefing and he had this to say.
I just stepped out from the classified briefing with Secretary Rubio, Hegseth, about the war in Iran, and that's exactly what it is. It's a war in Iran, and everything I heard in there confirms that this is a war. The level of violence has been significant, and we have heard, not just in that briefing, but publicly, that the administration is expecting to even increase and ramp up on those attacks. And so this is something that they told us point blank is going to go on for a long time and get even more violent. It's going to put even more Americans' lives at risk. And we have seen how this administration has deprioritized the protection of American citizens. My office has gotten a barrage of calls and emails from panicked Americans throughout the Middle East and their families. And I asked this question directly to Secretary Rubio, and they showed to me that they did not do the planning ahead of time to be there for the protection of Americans. This administration is just making this up as they go along. This is so very clearly a war without the approval of the American people through Congress. This is going to be reckless and dangerous, as we've seen the lives of 6 Americans killed already. What I was told in that briefing and what we hear publicly is this administration continuously saying they expect that number to go up. We're going to do everything I can to be able to keep Americans safe and to be able to rein in this lawlessness that we're seeing.
I was going to make another cup of coffee, and I'm out of coffee. So it's the story that this is, again, what we talk about oftentimes when there are incompetent people in charge of things that absolutely directly impact the lives of American people, citizens, whether they be active duty or non, or citizens here or citizens abroad. There is no plan. There's no plan. There was no plan. That's why I believe this entire thing was meant to cover up the e-files, just because that's what the president has stated in the past, concerned about elections. We went through the exercise yesterday, all the things that he said about Barack Obama, invading, attacking, whatever that might be. Here we sit. Yeah, I know, no more coffee. It's a drag. Yeah, the cup's empty. So, again, unnecessary. Didn't have to be done. A few other things that I want to play for you guys, because Markwayne Mullin, I reference him a lot these days just because he is so pathetically incompetent. He is an Oklahoma senator. Again, this guy is in the United States Senate, okay? It's embarrassing. Oklahoma, I know you know that. I'm going to first start with, well, let me do that since I teased it for you guys. Let me give you the words of Markwayne Mullin, not the brightest fucking bulb on the tree. Let me see if I can find it. Well, is this the one? Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Appreciate you all very, very much. Shit, did I lose it? What I do is I make a spreadsheet and I have all the links categorized that I want to play to, and then if they get out of order, I get all fucking distracted. Okay, here you go. So he was on the Sunday shows a couple of days ago with Caitlin Collins being asked questions, and here it is.
Not going to let that happen.
If we obliterated it, we being the United States last summer, then why are you worried about it right now?
Because they're rebuilding it, and you can see them rebuilding it.
But it was
not
obliterated.
enriching. Well, but it doesn't mean you can't rebuild. I mean, people have car accidents and obliterate their bones and their legs, and yet they can still put, metal back in them and walk again.
What?
But I think if it was obliterated in June, how is it February, and we're now, as Steve Witkoff put it, a week away from Iran having this?
I don't know. I can't speak for Steve. I haven't got those reports, and I've been read in on some of these programs, and so I don't know what Steve was looking at. I don't say he's wrong or right. I just haven't seen those reports. I do know that.
And secondly, on Iran, while you're here,
what?
Can you explain to the American people why the United States would need to strike Iran to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon if the United States obliterated their enrichment program last summer?
Well, I'm not going to make any news on Iran today.
It's JD now.
Caitlin, I'll let the president make those announcements. As you know, he is sending two of his best negotiators to Geneva tomorrow in order to continue to try to strike the best deal possible for the American people. But the principle is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they try to rebuild a nuclear weapon, that causes problems for us. And in fact, we've seen evidence that they have tried to do exactly that. So the president sending those negotiators to try to address that problem, as the president has said repeatedly, he wants to address that problem diplomatically, but of course the president has other options as well.
Hey, JD, have you seen this, by the way? Have you gotten a flight? Because there's a couch there too. Too soon? Probably not. So the argument, of course, that they're attempting to try to make is that it's, first of all, that it's not a war. Well, they're past that. They can't argue that anymore because the president has gone on the record saying it. But back to Markwayne Mullin. He got caught big time being cornered. This is after the briefing yesterday. This is wild.
This is war. You can see this is war.
We haven't declared war. They declared war on us, but we haven't.
War. Secretary Hegseth.
We haven't declared.
Just now, you said this is war.
They've called it war.
They've called it war. What I was saying. Okay, well, that was a misspoke. What I was saying that they've declared war on us, but war is ugly. It always has been ugly. But we're taking out a regime that's been trying to attack us for quite some time.
But you're not.
So that's Markwayne Mullin. When you go out on the Sunday shows and you tell people it's not a war, and the president said it's a war, and Pete Hegseth says it's a war, and Marco Rubio says it's a war. So the only people yet who have not gotten the memo are the fucking mouth breathers who have lives here on TikTok. It ain't a war. Well, what would it be? What would it be if another country decided to send missiles across the Atlantic into United States cities? What would you call that? What would you call it? We're under attack? Okay. Why do we have the Department of War? Of course it's a war. So stop. Thanks. Appreciate you. A few other people on the same fucking topic. Like Lindsey Graham, for example. Lindsey's been, I don't even know what to say about Lindsey. But here's another example of a series of Republicans who are stuck in the same lie after the president himself came out and said what it actually is.
Casualties that often happens in war.
I don't know if this is technically a war.
We didn't start this war.
Pete Hegseth.
But under President Trump, we are finishing it.
This isn't a war.
Mark Ray Mullen.
We haven't declared war.
The Secretary of Defense, who calls himself the Secretary of War, said today this is a war.
We set the terms of this war from start to finish.
Nobody should classify this as war. It is combat operations.
War is hell and always will be.
Strategic strikes are not war.
Okay. So the commander-in-chief says that it is. The secretary, the assistant manager to the Waffle House, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, says it's a war. Secretary of State says it's a war. CIA director says it's a war. But Frank, who holds a TikTok live, says it's not. Joe, who holds a panel of hatred people, says it's not. I'm probably going to believe in this case the statements that are coming from leadership in the government, those that are directing the war. Here it is again.
And we may have casualties that often happens in war.
I don't know if this is technically a war.
We didn't start this war. But under President Trump, we are finishing it.
Got it.
This isn't a war. We haven't declared war.
The Secretary of Defense, who calls himself the Secretary of War, said today this is a war.
We set the terms of this war from start to finish.
Nobody should classify this as war. It is combat operations.
War is hell and always will be.
Strategic strikes are not war.
Okay. Anyway. We'll take a little pause there, and like I said, I've got a few more people that are requesting, and we'll try to get some more guests before the end of the show today. Cool Cat Joe, how are you today, sir?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I don't know if you are going to say anything, or if you did already. I apologize. I'm kind of upset about the result last night, and I saw something where Kamala Harris endorsed Crockett like 2 days ago, or like 1 day or 2 days before the election. And I'm kind of wondering why it took her so long, considering all the work that Jasmine did. Helping her during her election. I was kind of surprised to see that.
I want to make sure I understood your question. Were you surprised that it took Kamala Harris so long to endorse Jasmine Crockett? Is that your question?
Yes.
I thought her endorsement came out early. I might have missed that. I don't have enough information. I would assume she probably did early. I guess I just don't know enough details about that.
Yeah, I just saw it 2 days ago, and somebody actually said, well, why it took her so long? But again, considering how tough Texas, we knew it was going to be a tough mountain for her to climb. She needed all the help, she could get. And for her to take that long to support her, I'm really bummed out right now.
Yeah, well, again, please mourn. I understand it's a tough loss for a lot of people, myself included. I really wanted her to get the nomination. Mourn, be in your feelings, and then when the time comes in November, if you have a choice between, to make between James Tallarico and John Cornyn or Ken Paxton, I'd like to think you would know what to do.
Oh, of course, no, we know what the assignment is, but it's just like I felt like it was her time, but in any case, I guess, what do you think now is next for her?
It's hard to say. She's not done. She's just started in her political career, as far as I'm concerned. Would we see her in a future cabinet position? Maybe Attorney General, Director of the FBI. Maybe she makes another Senate run. Maybe she decides to run for president someday. I don't think she's done. I don't think she's done at all.
Okay, but she's still in Congress, right?
No, she gave up her seat to run for the Senate.
Shoot. Didn't know that. Okay, all right. Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Be safe out there. That was a part of the redistricting too, as well. So no, she had to give up her seat to run for that Senate seat. Everybody, keep tapping, please. Somebody. Oh, hold on, buddy. Come on in, doggy. Victoria, I think I missed your request. You might still be in the chat. Feel free to request again if you want to. Okay, a few other things back to Kristi Noem's hearing. Let me just check in real quick. I'm going to make sure I have to actually update this before I do that. Hold on a second. Shit, I got to do math. Okay, there we go. Let me just double check over here real quick. If you guys want to support the Do Something Tour, you can do that through Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Really appreciate your support so far. A lot of great contributors. You guys are really showing up for us. We appreciate this. We cannot go on the road without your help. So thank you again. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, at Factsstillmatter. You'll find all the same out there. Let me a couple other people. Goodness gracious, you guys are great. Katra, thank you so very, very much. You're very kind for the Do Something Tour. Thank you for your contribution. Amanda, thank you very much for your kind contribution. That's incredible. I appreciate you very, very much. You're incredibly kind. I think I got Dawn. I did get Dawn as well. Yes, I got. Let me actually I can update this in real time. Love that. You guys are great. Here we go. Okay. Big C. Big C, good morning. How are you today?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about I know we're kind of trying to move on, but this Tallarico thing. I am a supporter of Tallarico. I've been watching him for 5 or 6 years. Love Jasmine Crockett too. It's almost unfortunate that I truly believe that 2 of the top 5 Democrats in the country right now were running against each other in this primary. But I think it's really important that we talk.
Which is good. Which is okay. I have no problem with that. I want that. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And I love what you talk about not going with the perfect candidate. Is that, we have to understand that right now, anything blue is the perfect candidate at this time. And well, we have to also understand, and I think it's kind of dangerous for us to be making the comparison with Kamala. While I do agree that, that some of the same reasons why Kamala lost is why the Jasmine lost, but we also have to understand that these are all Democratic voters that were voting for these 2 people, not Democrats versus Republicans, which to me makes this a different situation. And I think that Tallarico, while I understand that he may not be as progressive enough for some people, and that he looks an awful lot like a Republican, but this man is not a Republican. He has stayed consistent. He is a fantastic candidate, and I truly believe that he's going to do great for Texas, and I will not be a bit surprised to see him in the Oval Office one day. And we absolutely have to be careful about changing the narrative and talking about how he's, Republican-like, because he's not. And he is fighting against the same things that we are all fighting against right now. And I truly think that he is on the way to being a major part of the Democratic Party and the way that we move forward. And one last thing is that this happens within the Democratic Party. We don't need, I understand not unifying as a country right now because that is almost impossible. But as Democrats, we have to start unifying our message. And I think that Tallarico has an opportunity to really do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly the way that the primary process works in Texas as to whether or not you could be undeclared or can you vote in crossover parties. He does have an appeal across the aisle. I do think that there are moderate Republicans that are non-MAGA that he might be able to attract and I think even some MAGA. So yes, to your point, we've got to find some common ground. And for Jasmine to come out and make that statement to say, listen, we've got to unify as a party here. Yeah. She congratulated James. She conceded defeat, and then she's like, I'm gonna, will she campaign for him? I wouldn't be surprised. Because it helps her potentially in the future as well. It really kind of does. So you could be in it for yourself, you could be in it for others, but it could potentially help her political future too. So, but thanks for bringing that up, Big C. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And yeah, I agree with you. The speech afterwards was great, and I also think I was almost hoping they were in the same building so they could come out holding hands together. Because I mean,
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's
unifying.
Yeah, I mean, we have to unify, and I truly believe that's one of the reasons we lost the election in 2024 is that while all of the talking points from the Republican side, or most of them, were based upon lies, they did a good job of unifying their message, and it felt like it was one message with all of those people, which is powerful and is one of the reasons why, I mean, I hated every bit of the message, but it was one message, whereas the Democrats are so divided at times with the progressives, with the, Dem socks, with, regular, good, every average run of the mill Democrat. And right now, if you're not a fascist, you're a friend at this point. So let's keep that going. So.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Thanks for jumping in, Big C.
Thanks,
yeah,
Steve.
I think somebody grew up, from my professional background is in messaging. There was no message. That's always been an issue from Democrats. The message from Republicans was just hate. I'm just going to tell you who to hate. Hate everybody. Everybody jump on board, and we just double down the hate. Somebody made a comment about what do I mean that I want prominent Democrats running against each other, because that's how I want every candidate that wants to hold office to become part of the primary process. I want some of the most talented, electable, competent individuals to square off in primaries against each other. That's what you want. It's a clear choice Texas made, right? That's what you had. You had your options. They're different candidates for obvious reasons and less obvious reasons. That's what we should all want. We want people to be primaried. I want every sitting Democratic incumbent to be primaried. I don't want them to be given their seat. I want them to fucking earn their seat. That's why I think it's important to have as many people involved in the electoral process as possible. That's why. So I've been wanting to talk to you this morning. How are you doing today?
I am doing all right, Ben. How are you?
Okay. I don't believe you, but I'll take that as an answer.
It's so I came up specifically to say I already saw some things in the comments that somewhat bothered me, and to those of you who are Texas residents like myself, and especially the ones who were very much pro Crockett, I just want to say we didn't like what happened. Absolutely. At the end of the day, one of the issues that I took with the way some people were talking about Tallarico was as if he was going to lose, and if it was for sure a win for Crockett. And my problem with that was the fact that he won. And you can have your issues with Tallarico. I've had my fair share, particularly in the last couple of weeks, and this controversy with their campaigns in Crockett. But he has a D by his name, and not just a D by his name, but him and Crockett almost stood for damn near the same things. He was still a good candidate. Mm-hmm. Objectively, he was still a good candidate. He's still infinitely better than every single Republican. Therefore, all my issues aside, I will be proudly voting for him in November. I am very disappointed that Crockett lost, and I voted for her because I knew the odds were stacked against her infinitely more than him. But we have a better Texas because of Tallarico if he wins. It is what it is. I also agree with 60% of what Big C said. I do think it is somewhat, what he said somewhat was true in regards to the comparison between Crockett and Kamala Harris's race. Yes, it is different because we're talking about a vice president versus a convicted felon versus two Democrats, right? Who openly encourage debate. They encourage the competition. I do think everyone needs to be challenged to be a primary because it makes them better. I agree with all of that. But I'm also speaking to the amount of Democrats, the amount of people on the left that I was arguing back and forth with about positions that Jasmine Crockett never took. I'm still going back and forth with these people about her being pro-Israel. I'm still going back and forth with these people about her taking AIPAC money. She never did. So there's a lot of misinformation. This seems to be extremely common every single race with a black woman. And while I really like Tallarico, the fact that we looked at another prosecutor, another woman who has so many qualifications in so many subcommittees in our government, who's already doing all these things, and we still had some of these ridiculous petty arguments, that part can't be ignored. So again, I'm happy for Tallarico. Texas is going to be better off for it, but I cannot ignore the fact that we did end up repeating some of the same shit with Kamala Harris, or with Jasmine Crockett, that we did with Kamala Harris in 2024.
What's the word on the street about the Wesley Hunt getting involved and how much he may or may not have impacted that race? I think 13% is what he got for votes, Hector. I think that's about right. That's what I checked this morning. That's not insignificant, especially when neither one of the front runners got above 50%. What are you hearing, or what did you expect that? Were you surprised by it? Did you think either Cornyn or Paxton would get above 50?
So I saw the runoff coming. I did see that coming when I saw it happen. I was like, ha ha. But with Wesley Hunt, that part did surprise me. I'm going to be messy because it's Republicans. Who cares? I'm glad that they had all that division.
I'm more curious than anything else, because I think to the point, right? The fact that they're so divided in the Republican Party just means there's a really seriously positive opportunity for James Tallarico to win this.
Exactly.
That's why I brought it up. Yeah.
I believe there are several polls that showed Republicans very nervous about Tallarico winning, because basically to them, I guess it makes sense. It's Texas, guys. Just look at the numbers. Don't worry about the race. To them, he was the biggest threat. So having them have that kind of divisiveness in their own party, and then Tallarico taking that win, this looks really good for us. Very good for us. And then Gina just has to lay up with the governor race, and we can have a very better Texas. With both of them, let's be real, guys, with both of them in those seats, that lays the groundwork for someone like a Crockett or otherwise to win later on.
Agreed.
So this could just be a longer process for what we want, but we're still better.
The governor race is going to be tough. We have to be honest about that. I mean, Greg Abbott's got $100 million in his campaign fund. He's wildly unpopular, but money is money. You know how that goes, and I guess we'll see. But I think it seemed like it was a bit of a surprise potentially for Gina. Was that? Did you see that coming, that she was going to be the nominee?
I did. I think she had the best polling. She had the best numbers. She had the best support. She had the best media coverage. So I very much did see her taking that seat. Again, it's still a whole nother thing to get up to November. But I think Tallarico is going to strongly back her. Crockett's going to strongly back her. We have a lot of Democrats behind her. So what I'm nervous about, and even if you look at the specific the votes that turned up in so many of these little counties, you had counties with 1,000 people where only 4 people showed up to vote. It's ridiculous. So I'm really hoping, and this because I have a lot to do with volunteers and money, I'm hoping there is a very strong effort and a combined effort to get to some of those little teeny tiny counties where a vote of 1 or 2 or 5 makes all the difference.
Sure.
Someone keeps spamming in your comments that they're not voting for Tallarico, and I'm assuming you're just not voting for Democrats at all, in which case you're just another one of those. But if you're that disappointed in Crockett's loss that you're just not voting for a person that she would now endorse, then you do not give a crap about Texas going blue. You don't give a crap about stopping the GOP, in which case you can shut up. Anyways, don't want to take up too much of your time. I can't stand these people. Guys, it's this race is bigger than your feelings.
It is, and they're missing the plot. Exactly to your point, they're missing the plot. So, thank you, my friend. I know, by the way, just so you could take your flowers, you drove like 8 fucking hours to participate in democracy.
That part
that's
hurts.
A commitment. Yeah, exactly. You're not going to get your gas money back, my friend. I'm sorry about that.
And I'll tell you what I found out when I got there. I found out what a limited ballot is, and I could have voted right here. I had no reason to go to Austin. You know?
You got to see the sites. Whatever the sites were, you got to see the sites.
I did miss it, to be fair. But yes, thank you very much for having me come up. That's my message to everyone. Do not forget the points. Do not lose the assignment because your candidate lost. That's how we get fucked. That's all.
Well said, bro. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there. I love you, man. Be safe.
Man. Love you.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, that's, again, I think just the message this morning. And I think, generally speaking, and I want to make sure that I'm capturing the general sentiment of many folks that have joined us today, right? It's, you don't have to just move past it. You can be in your feelings today. You can be angry, right? You can be angry that your candidate, Jasmine Crockett, lost. Certainly. I'm going to be going to Austin on my tour, no doubt about it. You can be angry. You can question the results. You can do all those kinds of things. Do all the good things, right? And then when November comes, you're going to have a choice in Texas, right? You're going to have a choice between James Tallarico, who has now been endorsed by Jasmine Crockett and will likely be endorsed by other prominent progressive figures in the Democratic Party and or others. He'll be raising money. He's, many votes cast for him in Texas against either Ken Paxton, who's done everything he can to suppress the vote of marginalized communities across the board, or John Cornyn, who will literally do whatever Trump tells him to do. I don't know why it would be any more complicated than that. Pretty simple. That's the assignment. Illusion, how are you this morning?
Hey, friend. Thanks for answering my question that I put in the chat earlier from your perspective. Sure. I appreciate that. I just came up to ask a quick question. I'm not here to vent or anything. Isn't the plot like impeachment?
Of the president?
Yes, exactly.
I don't want the president impeached. I want his cabinet members impeached.
Sure. So impeachment would still involve the Senate and the House, right?
Impeachment is the House, and then removal would be the Senate.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. Okay, so is your plot impeachment?
No, I don't want the president impeached. I don't want the president impeached. I'd rather make him a lame duck on day one. I would like the members of the cabinet impeached because they are harmful, and I don't want it to just be about impeachment. I want progressive policies introduced from a legislative perspective.
That's interesting.
I want people to start talking. Yeah, I want people to start talking about universal health care. I want people talking about court reform. I want Democrats to eliminate the filibuster so we can change the way our government works. Yeah, that's what I want.
So how do we get to those things if we're under duress? Like, I feel like if we're not first impeaching, we won't stop being under duress. And so that's why I offer that the plot is indeed impeachment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a subplot personally, but yeah, I mean, I think it would certainly be on the agenda. They have to be removed. We can't have Kristi Noem flying around the country on her jizz jet, as it was mentioned earlier. We can't have people like Pam Bondi in charge of the Department of Justice. We can't have Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of Defense. They're unqualified, harmful individuals, especially now that we know that Pete Hegseth's directive is Armageddon based on his biblical beliefs.
Yeah.
That's how he's running the Department of War now. Those people have to go. So we're going to spend time impeaching people, make it be them and less about the president.
Sure. I agree with you completely. And so that's why I asked the question earlier about, like, how is it a good thing that we had two top Democrats running against each other when the point is to keep from being under duress by removing the people that are putting us under duress? Wouldn't we need as many numbers in these positions of leadership that are involved with impeachment as possible?
Yes, but that's what the primary process is for. So I think every incumbent elected official should be primaried. The reason that Republicans picked up so many seats, the reason you have MTG and Lauren Boebert in Congress, for example, is because they ran unopposed. I think every elected official, Democrat, Republican, progressive, non, should be challenged in a primary because that gets more people involved in the race.
Okay,
and I think what ends up happening is the reason we have a lot of career politicians is because they're not challenged. That's why I think you should have as many prominent voices, even no names running. That's why you have the primary.
Okay.
When the general comes, the assignment is clear from my perspective, but that's why I want primaries.
Hey, I appreciate you giving me your time. You're always very convincing and level-headed. So thanks, man. I'll catch you later.
Appreciate you. All right, have a good day. Be safe out there. Yeah, it's just a political strategy, quite frankly. I think that's the reason that we have a bit of a lazy electorate is because we only hear the same voice. So people feel like, it's just more of the same. Well, if you don't want more of the same, then you need to get more people involved, right? So the only way to do that is through the primary process. And also, again, I'm a marketer, right? So you get name recognition is really important, right? Had anybody ever heard of Barack Obama before he made the keynote address during the DNC convention? Nobody had ever really heard of him before. So that put him on the map. So you get someone who runs across the country. You get a prominent Senate race or a competitive House race. I think about Afton Bain in Tennessee, for example. A bright future in politics if she wants it. We would not have heard of her without attention paid to that race because she challenged an incumbent and she moved the needle 13 points to the left. You got to be willing to play the long game. This goes back to political strategy. The right has been kicking the left's ass for decades because they were willing to play the long game, right? I use this analogy. Trump grabbed a piece of fine china. It took him a second to grab it and throw it on the floor, smashing into a million pieces. That's what he's done to our system. What Democrats want is to be able to fix it as fast as he broke it. That ain't going to happen. Okay, that's not going to happen. We've got to be willing to play the long game, which means if you're going to invest in politics and you're going to get involved and you want to get involved, then you got to be in it for the long haul. It takes money to raise money, or it takes money to run for office, which again is something else that I want changed. Another reason to vote for a Democrat. If you campaign for them, ask him, are you for campaign finance reform? Would you vote to get rid of the Electoral College? If the answer is no, then sorry, I can't support you. Then you find another candidate. That's what it comes down to, right? That's what it comes down to. All right, got a couple other people that are requesting here. Actually, not for that. Okay. So that's where we sit, right? That's where we sit. Progressives, Democratic Socialists, Democrats, moderates, liberals, people who are conservative Democrats. The assignment is clear as far as I'm concerned. If you want any chance to try to fix some of this shit that's been broken, then you got but one choice. All right, back to Christy. So this is she's being grilled by Dick Durbin yesterday. This is very telling. This is what I described earlier. If just fucking actually I see Cass. I want to hear from more Texas voters. We can talk to independents. Hey there, friend. How are you?
Hi, Steve. So I don't know if you went over this, and I apologize, but I loved what you were saying, because right now Texas, we've got a Democratic contender running now, and I just want to say this, if nobody's aware, we matched and actually exceeded Republican turnout in our primary, which is huge. This just does not happen for us. I just wanted to say, let's fucking go, Texas. Look, I know people can be upset about Crockett, but please show up to that general and please vote, because listen, you may not love Tallarico, but at this point, women are unaliving in our state, and we got to get somebody in the Senate who is at least willing to vote that women should have their rights codified. And I know he will do that. He said he will do that. So I just wanted to talk on that. The fact that we exceeded Republican turnout is fundamentally amazing. This has just not happened for us. For instance, in the Beto, running for gubernatorial in the last midterm, we had only about 1 million Democrats show up to about 1.8 to 2 million Republicans in the primary. We exceeded Republican turnout with about 2.4 million Democrats showing up. This is astounding. And Steve, I'm so sorry to derail your life. I want to let you get back to it, but thank you so much, my friend.
I have questions. I have questions. Don't leave. Don't have
Yeah,
questions for you.
yeah, of course.
So I meant to ask Hector this because I think it's safe to say that Tallarico does appeal to people that maybe have voted Republican in the past. His bit of a conservative roots. He's a man of faith. What is the registration process for primaries in Texas? Is it open?
So, yeah.
I know you're an independent. Okay.
Yes.
Go for it.
So I voted in the Democratic primary because I very much thought that I loved Tallarico's message of appealing to that moderate or even like disaffected Republican base. And it's not to say that I did not like Crockett. I honestly think their policy positions are nearly indistinguishable. So like on a level, I would have been all in no matter who won that primary. But I love that Tallarico really reached out and appealed to, because I told people last night to watch the border community. Those were so huge for us. And it was a part where we really, really missed out on this last go when we had border communities flipping Trump. But they were fundamentally
like the RGV cast?
Yeah.
Like the Rio Grande Valley?
Yeah. But they were pissed. They were pissed at like they thought, oh, he's just gonna deport the criminals. No, he's deporting everybody. And they're mad. So I told people, I was like, watch those border communities. And this is exactly what happened last night, was that Tallarico really hit in those where in the Hispanic base, and this is, I'm not trying to overgeneralize here, and I do not mean to be disrespectful when I say this, you may have more conservative leaning people that are maybe more religious, and I felt like he really hit them in that way, and it's huge because we are a majority minority state with a large portion of Hispanic voters, and I felt like he exceeded very well there. So yeah.
So you can be unaffiliated in the primary and vote in either for Democrat or Republican. Is that how it works?
Absolutely.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. As long as you are not like and you have to go down and actually do this, and you have to go to your party office and register as as long as you are not a registered Republican or registered Democrat, which is incredibly rare here because it takes a lot to go do it. Yeah, you can vote in any primary you want.
Okay. Thank you, friend. I appreciate your perspective.
Absolutely. Sorry to derail. Love you, Steve.
You did. Love you too. See you later. Be safe. Yeah, you didn't. Cass, you've got a seat anytime. Cass is a true bona fide independent. I know a lot of people like to make that argument, but she's a true independent. Oh, Hector, want to come back up again? Texas representing today. Sorry, you had something else you wanted to add, my friend? What you got?
Yes, Cass, if you're still here. Okay, she's still here. I wanted to know if you heard anything about what took place in Tarrant County. Apparently in Tarrant County, we had the GOP separating the Democratic votes from the Republican votes in the primaries. Like it was two completely different buildings. And I didn't know if that was normal. I drove down to Austin. It was one spot. Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. We all went to one place. I was hearing in Tarrant County, they separated people by party. So I wanted to know if you knew anything about that.
Actually, it was Dallas County, just for the specificity of it. So it was Dallas County. And what it is that here, so parties direct their primaries. Now, most parties in most party offices, right? Like in most of the counties do a countywide vote where you can just go anywhere within that county. And as long as it's a voting place that's there, you can vote without that provisional balloting, essentially. Well, Republicans decided to kind of throw a wrench into things. But to be fair to them, this was notified, like nobody was not notified of this. They put out their notices that you had to go to your precinct, which is a small little area basically around your house or your address, right? And you can only vote in that little bitty area. So people that were at work on the other side of Dallas are like, oh, I'm going to go vote today, which they normally have been able to do since we've overwhelmingly went to countywide voting. However, they were told, no, you have to be at your precinct. That's how the party rules are set up. So this is a very weird issue. We had a court issue an order that basically we're extending the voting hours due to confusion. I'll say it like this. First of all, Democrats should have been on the news nightly, the Democratic Party out of there, and letting people fucking know that this was going on. I'm mad at them for doing that. And that's on them for not reaching their voter base. That is literally on them. The judge extending the hours, I put it on Twitter and I can pull it up for everybody. I said, they're not counting these votes because we had this happen in Houston it was one of the last two elections where a precinct offices were running out of ballots and they extended voting time and they said, no, we're not counting any of these votes. I already knew what was going to happen. Those votes will not be counted because largely right now, the only contention that can be made is that the amount of these provisional balloting votes would have pushed Jasmine Crockett over the threshold, and they just won't. While it's a little bit of fuckery, this is kind of on Democrats for not reaching their base. I can be mad about it, but at the same time, I can also say, you live in Texas. You should know what it is to live here. You should know that they are going to try to suppress your vote. Please make yourself aware of where your polling place is and get there early. We have 2-3 weeks of early voting here. Just do it that way.
I was just going to say, to be fair, I knew all of that. I was actually talking specifically about an individual I knew in Tarrant County and then another individual I heard in Lee Harris County who specifically told me that they did have a separation by party when they went into vote. But yes, I did hear about that in Williamson and Dallas County. But yes, that was another big issue that I saw with the numbers of people waiting in line forever. Yesterday, we had 2 weeks, guys. 2 weeks you could have done your vote.
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize because when they run those primaries, they can set it up differently. And they can send if you're in a family and let's say your husband's voting in the Republican primary and you're voting in the Democrat, you may have to go to 2 different places, which absolutely sucks. I apologize. That didn't happen in my county. Most counties it didn't happen in. But unfortunately, because the parties set the rules for their primaries, it just is what it is. I hate it, but that came down that way.
In other words, pay attention to the fuckery that's always existed for the most part.
Yeah, if you are a Democratic Party chair and you know this is going on, call the local news. Every other day, call the local news and be like, I need to inform voters about something. There's some crazy stuff going on here. Please tell me. None of the news networks would have let you up. They absolutely would have interviewed you and given you time to talk about it.
I agree, and that's somewhat disappointing. I can even say on Crockett and Tallarico, because these aren't necessarily things that I even saw them broadcast on their platforms versus just telling people to go vote for them. I think a lot of people are far too ignorant of the lens Texas goes to keep itself read, and we need to be a little bit more cognizant of that. But yes, thank you for that, Cass. I was curious.
Absolutely, I'll drop down. Thank you again, Steve. Thanks Hector.
Thanks, Cass. Love you. See you later. Thanks, Hector. There you go. Just to clarify real quick, when we talk about Jasmine Crockett, she is still in the House until January of 2027. She's just not running for re-election in her seat, so she could then in turn run for the Senate seat. So yes, she's still in the House, and she will be until January of January of 2027. Just wanted to make sure that you guys heard that from me directly. Erica, I saw you in the chat. I told you, do all the good things. Go to Erica's store, pick yourself up one, because this shirt really sums it all up. Do all the good things, whatever those things are, but do all of them. So thank you. All right. We do have Christine Ohm is testifying again today. Today she's in front of the House. Again, we're going to choose not to stream the interview. I'm not going to deal with her bullshit. I love my shirt too. But we'll air the highlights tomorrow. Okay, I want to go back to Christine Ohm and this statement from Dick when she's being pressed by Dick Durbin.
You were wrong.
We continue as these investigations continue to go. We will I absolutely strive to provide factual information, and we'll continue to do that.
And when you fail, do you admit it publicly?
Absolutely. We always know that there's room for improvement. That we have used jets of this size and this configuration 4 deportations in the past. If you remember
In this configuration, by this configuration, you mean
I
with a
didn't see
bedroom
the
and
inside
luxury
of them.
accommodations like this
That
was
plane-
used for deportations.
Do you have anything you want to say to Alex Preddy's parents?
We were relying in the hours after that incident that was so horrific on information we were getting from the ground
I
from
just
our
asked
agents.
if you had
But I would
anything you
say
wanted to say to the
but I would
parents
say-
or to the family
That's
of
what
Renee
I'm doing
Good
right
after
now, is
you
that
called
I
them domestic
can't
terrorists.
even imagine what they have gone through in the loss of their son and the loss of their family members.
But how
It's
about
absolutely
specifically
tragic.
calling them
And I
domestic
send
terrorists
them-
without any evidence of that?
Sir, ma'am, I did not call him a domestic terrorist. I said
Yes,
it
you
appeared to
did.
be an incident of.
You
you
have
did.
spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently.
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told.
So true. It's exactly like a TikTok debate. Erica, that's why I'm not going to stream it live. We'll talk about it tomorrow, though. I want to just give people a little bit more history on this whole situation with her and this ad campaign. So, first of all, just as a reminder, this is for those of you that are just joining us now, this is the jet in question. And we had a little bit of fun earlier today, I must say, but this is Kristi Noem's, sky cabin, so to speak. For I'm sure that they do a lot of, thought-provoking conversations. I'm sure that they are really working on setting legislative agendas. I'm sure that it's just business. Because, whenever I see a plane, I always assume that there's just a queen size or king size bed in the back cabin. I've flown internationally before. I've never had a setup like that, for sure. Did she fly JetBlue? That's a good one. Anyway, let me go back to the background for the day. So, for several years, this involves Corey Lewandowski, who she is around D.C. It's like the worst kept secret that they are having an affair. They're both married. Listen, 2 consenting adults. You do whatever the fuck you want to do. That is up to you. That is up to you. But to lie to the American public repeatedly about this shit and then double down again goes back to the sound we played earlier from an FBI official as to these are the various ways in which people who don't want to answer questions, their strategy to avoid it. So for several years, this is from Politico, for several years, media outlets and political insiders have circulated claims that Noem and Lewandowski are romantically involved. Both are married to other people. They've repeatedly denied allegations, with Noem previously calling them anonymous smears and a disgusting lie. However, some reporting and insider accounts claim the relationship is widely understood in Washington and described by many as, quote, the worst kept secret in D.C. The rumors intensified in 2025 with new reporting and a book about Trump-era immigration policy describing their alleged closeness from the Daily Beast. Lewandowski travels frequently with Noem, claims that they spend large amounts of time together, internal concern among DHS staff about their relationships. Corinne Lewandowski's influence inside DHS, her department. Lewandowski has served as a special government employee. Does that come with a ball gag? Maybe that's a perk. He acted as de facto chief of staff or gatekeeper, exercised a significant influence over operations and personnel, participated in policy and communication strategy. I'm sure he did. Critics argue this gives him outsized power without normal accountability, since that role has limited workday rules, only about 130 days per year, and then a fewer disclosure requirements. This comes into ethics. Again, listen, I'm going to be very, very clear. 2 consenting adults, you do your thing. If that's how your Christian belief, is that how it tracks that you can just cheat on your spouses, then that's up to you. Then you can deal with that later. We're talking about the ethics behind it. We're talking about taxpayer dollars being spent on, the cock air, as somebody described it earlier. DHS awarded contract to firms with connections to Lewandowski or Trump campaign figures. This has to do with the advertisement, the $220 million, cosplay ad campaign that she ran. Her on horseback, her on a tractor, her riding other things. Senators questioned whether these contracts were influenced by Lewandowski's role. A pro-deportation ad campaign worth hundreds of millions of dollars raised scrutiny. A smaller DHS PR contract went to a firm linked to Trump campaign operatives. Noem has denied involvement in contractor selection. Well, you can deny it all you want, but the plowing plane, yes. Here's a summary. Last year, under Kristi Noem, they launched a massive advertising campaign aimed at discouraging illegal immigration and encouraging people already in the U.S. without status to, quote, self-deport. Cost around $220 million. TV, radio, social, and international broadcast. It warned migrants to leave the U.S. or face deportation. The ad sometimes featured Noem on horseback or, like I said, whatever. So a few more of the members of the Senate really, really grilled her on this topic yesterday, including Peter Welch, who's from Vermont. And I'd like to play that for you now because he's doing the work. I've been in contact with Peter's office. There's a strong possibility he might join us for an interview at some point, but I don't have all the details yet on that, so stay tuned. Let me see if I have this. Oh, we'll get to him in a second. No, let's get to him right now. No, we're not. We're gonna do Tom Tillis instead. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit today.
I read your book last week, and honestly, some of the parts of it impressed me, but some of it distresses me. And I'll give you a good example of one that does. The passage where you talk about killing a dog that was 14 months old. I train dogs, all right? And you are a farmer. You should know better. You should know that if you're going out to a hunting lodge and you're putting pheasants out and you're putting dogs out, you don't take a puppy out there. A 14-month-old dog is basically a teenager in dog years. You decided to kill that dog because you had not invested the appropriate time in training, and then you have the audacity to go into a book and say it's a leadership lesson about tough choices. It's in your book. We could play it if we had time. At that same lunch hour, you killed a goat. And you killed the goat because you said it was behaving badly. You are a farmer. You don't castrate a goat. They behave badly. You should have probably done that before. But my point is, those are bad decisions made in the heat of the moment, not unlike what happened up in Minneapolis. We're an exceptional nation. And one of the reasons we're exceptional is we expect exceptional leadership. And you've demonstrated anything but that in the time that I've seen you responding to the emergency in North Carolina and across the Southeast, and acknowledging when mistakes are made and speaking too soon for the expedient of social media or whatever it is.
I want to point something out. That's Tom Tillis retiring. The reason that Roy Cooper will likely be the next senator representing North Carolina. This is what happens when you're not constrained by politics. Because I'm sure that if you asked every Republican member of the Senate right now, their honest feelings off the record, behind closed doors, without the cameras on, they would say the exact same thing. Seriously. There's more. I've got some more sound. This is Cory Booker. He went off on her.
Incompetent, or you are violating laws with impunity. You are violating the separation of powers, violating court orders, and routinely violating the civil rights of Americans. This is a reckless and out-of-control agency that you are responsible for. You seem to have no situational awareness whatsoever of some of the most egregious examples of Americans being completely attacked, violated, undermined in accordance with our laws by their own government. And this is what is phenomenal to me, is immigration was your president's #1 issue, overwhelmingly popular with the American people. But now it's overwhelmingly unpopular. And it's not because you are deporting dangerous people that everybody here wants out of our country. No, it's because you're going into our schools. You're terrorizing our children. You're detaining children. You're arresting Americans. You're breaking into our homes. You're terrorizing our streets. You're violating our rights to peacefully protest again and again and again.
None of
and then
that
when a
is true.
court tells you
None
to
of
stop,
that is true.
and then when a court
You are
tells you
trying
to stop,
to impede
you
us
violate
from
judges'
enforcing the law
orders. Not in
and
a
getting
partisan
dangerous
way,
criminals off of our streets
Republican-appointed
so we
and
don't have more
Democratic-appointed.
families like the ones that are sitting
Sit
behind
there
me.
and tell me that
Lost
you are
their children,
responsible
gone forever.
for the running of your agency when you're not even aware. Either you are utterly incompetent or you are violating laws with impunity. You should step down from your position. If you don't, you should be removed by this president. And if not, Congress should impeach you.
I appreciate the encouragement.
Okay. Okay. Here's Tom Tillis again. Is this? Yeah, here we go. Here's Tom Tillis again. Tom Tillis Unchained. And I like it. I like it. I like it.
Have actually been pardoned, and yet we haven't thanked the Capitol Police officers for their work here. So when I say I'm unapologetically pro-law enforcement, you can count in every single sworn officer in Homeland Security. So why am I disappointed with Secretary Noem? Because we're not going after enough people who did this damage at the expense of running numbers that Stephen Miller wants out of the White House. We just want numbers. We want 1,000 a day, 6,000 a day, 9,000 a day because numbers matter, right? No, they don't matter. Quality matters, not quantity, quality. And what we've seen is a disaster. Under your leadership, Ms. Noem, a disaster. What we've seen is innocent people getting detained that turn out are American citizens. I could talk about the culture that's been created here with Stephen Miller aiding and abetting. I heard first reports that he was the one that said it was a domestic terrorist situation where 2 people lost their lives in Minneapolis. I've heard that report. Maybe you can refute it. I don't know that we'll have time for you to respond because I'm giving you a performance evaluation here. I'm not looking for a response. And I'm saying, Ms. Noem, that time after time after time I've been disappointed.
Damn. Whoo. He laid it out there. Again, unconstrained. Not facing re-election. You don't have to worry about defending it. Here's Richard Blumenthal, Senator Blumenthal from Rhode Island. Where's he from? You don't know anymore. Where's he from? I don't know. Hold on. Connecticut? Connecticut. Maybe.
Detained or arrested by your agency?
The individuals that may have been detained and arrested were individuals that could have been obstructing law enforcement operations
haven't met
and
with
committing
them,
crimes
correct?
that way, and that we would have
I'd like
been
to
individuals
introduce you to
until their
3 of
identity was
them.
confirmed.
Leo, Javier, and Marimar, would you please stand? These 3 individuals, Madam Secretary, were arrested by your agency, Leonardo Garcia Venegas, Javier Ramirez, and Marimar Martinez. Do you know what your agents did to Leo Venegas? I'll tell you. On May 21 of last year, they entered the private property at a house that he was constructing without consent, without a warrant, illegally. Again, on June 12th, they entered private property, a home where he was doing construction. He is a United States citizen, born in Florida. They seized him and ignored and disregarded his proof of citizenship. Wouldn't you agree with me that no U.S. citizen simply working lawfully should be arrested?
In law enforcement operations across the country, there are times when U.S.
It's a
citizens
simple yes or
may
no.
be arrested or detained until
Would
their
you agree
identity is
with me,
confirmed
Madam
and that they
Secretary,
haven't
that
committed a
U.S.
crime.
citizens should not be arrested?
One more opportunity for her to answer a question directly, and she chose not to. This is the Homeland Security Secretary, friends. She's the one who's responsible to police our border and we know that all she's done is lie. Here's Peter Welch from Vermont. Similar line of questioning.
Questions about this contract, $220 million. Senator Schiff asked about it as well, and I do too. I don't want to question what the purpose was, but how the award was made. This is $220 million. It was an advertising campaign, as I understand it, that featured you and you on a horse at Mount Rushmore. The contract was a no-bid contract. You acknowledge that?
I wasn't involved with this contracting process, so my understanding is that there was many companies that competed for this contract.
The answer to that is yes or no.
I don't believe it was. I believe other companies competed for this because there was two different vendors that were chosen.
I have here a document from usspending.gov. And this document specifically states the justification for no bid contract that goes to Safe America Media and People Who Think. Those are the two entities that did the campaign, correct?
I believe it is. I wasn't a part of this contracting process.
Let's get serious here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so two things. We'll play the rest of the sound in just a second. She is the secretary. When you are leadership, I have been in leadership. When I would invest in advertising campaigns as a CMO, my name was on the fucking invoice. You're the fucking leader, dude. Christy, I know you're thinking about downtime or uptime with Corey, depending on how that goes. I know your mind is elsewhere, but you're going to literally sit there and say, I had nothing to do with it. That's your answer? She just can't stop lying.
Make the Safe America was incorporated 11 days or 7 days by my count before they got an award of $143 million. You have any dispute with that?
Are you talking about the subcontractor on that contract? Because we have
America.
Senator, I wasn't a part of this decision.
Okay.
We followed the same processes that have been our policies and how this was conducted appropriately.
I will go through this and then you can answer. I don't want us to be talking over each other. Safe America was incorporated 11 days or 7 days by my account before they got a $143 million contract. Now, as a administrator who has fiscal responsibility over a huge budget, do you realistically think that a company that was created 11 days before they got $143 million is in a position to execute on a $143 million contract?
Senator, I can't speak to their business model. I will tell you that since I've been at the department, I have reviewed over 10,000 contracts. I have saved the taxpayers over $13 billion by renegotiating contracts and being more efficient.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want the filibuster. All right? And I want my time back.
So the story is such that this company was created anywhere between 7 and 11 days prior to getting the contract to do the ad campaign with Christie on horseback. Now, in my business experience, one of the things that I would look for would be, corporate reputation, show me examples of your work. Have you sent out bids to anybody else? Do you have any references, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? That helps with, waste, fraud, and abuse. This is a scheme to put money in the pockets of people connected to her. And lo and behold, who has connections to these companies who are behind this ad campaign? Corey Lewandowski, her bed buddy. Again, adults consenting, do what you want to do. Waste, fraud, abuse, MAGA. Anybody want to comment on that? Anybody? Nobody cares, do you? Of course you don't. I think I've got one more bit of sound from Christy that I want to play today, if I can find it. Let's see. Do I? I don't. So a couple little things before we wrap today. She is going to be impeached or removed, or she's going to resign. The reason that I say that is because one thing we know about the president, he does not want anybody that makes him look bad. He does a good enough job himself doing that, but he does not want anybody connected to him that make him look bad. She threw him and Stephen Miller under the bus by saying they were the ones that told her that the domestic terrorists, that Alex Preddy and Renee Good were domestic terrorists. She threw him under the bus. John Kennedy called her out on that. So I really believe that because they're women in particular, they're going to be scapegoated, right? That's obvious. So I want to play this sound from Mike Johnson. Bitch boy, again, bro. This is such a fucking no-brainer. This is really wild to me, and there's one little moment that it probably is not going to get covered, but I heard it, and I'm going to talk about it. He's talking about the War Powers Act and whether or not the president has authority, and there's one thing that he says in particular that I'm going to call out.
The law, he used his discretion and his authority and the intelligence that he had, exquisite as it was.
The intelligence that he had, exquisite that it was. If you had exquisite intelligence, your words, bitch boy, if you had exquisite intelligence, enough so that you could literally put a smart bomb down the fucking chimney of the Ayatollah's house to take him out with exquisite intelligence, then your exquisite intelligence would have told you to not blow up a fucking school. Mike?
As is demonstrated by its effectiveness, and he did what he should have done as a commander-in-chief. The idea that a few colleagues here would try to move a war powers motion and resolution to the floor right now is dangerous. Imagine a scenario where Congress would vote to tell the commander-in-chief that he was no longer allowed to complete this mission. That would be a very dangerous thing. You see that Iran is firing almost seemingly indiscriminately at targets. They're trying to intimidate America. They're trying to test our resolve. And the idea that there's some members of this legislative body that would play along with that plays right into the hands of the enemy. And I think it's shameful. I do believe we have the votes to defeat it. I certainly hope we do, because we have lots of troops, service members in harm's way right now. And the balance of this thing is hanging there. It's been very effective thus far. It needs to be completed. We don't need Congress getting in the way of that. Yes, ma'am.
You don't need Congress getting in the way, although it's Congress's job, you fucking cuck. Exquisite intelligence, Mike. Exquisite. This was part of the plan. Don't forget about Pete Hegseth talking about Armageddon. That this is God's will to eliminate bloodlines. It's a girls' school. It was targeted intentionally. The numbers, I think, have surpassed 200 total. Girls, children, staff members, teachers. It's intentional. It's a bloodline issue. Sure, my opinion. Fine. Explain it to me. Explain it. Explain to me how you can have exquisite intelligence, that you could put a smart bomb literally down the fucking chimney without any other additional collateral damage. And you couldn't do the same to a girls' school? This is the problem. When you base your entire belief set politically on your theocracy connected to Christian nationalism and Seven Mountain Mandates and Pete Hegseth's bullshit, then you attempt to justify everything. Oh, it's just collateral damage. Well, this is what the War Powers Act is. War Powers Act, more formally called the War Powers Resolution of 1973, is a U.S. law meant to limit the president's ability to send American forces into combat without Congress's approval. It was passed after the Vietnam War because many members of Congress believed the president had taken country into long military conflicts without sufficient oversight. Jason Crow, who I like a lot, is a member of the Armed Services Committee. He went on Fox, and he's going to talk about just that. So he, of course, Margaret McCallum, she's a Trump sycophant, but she's trying to defend him, and this is what he had to say.
The accountability mechanism. A president has the right to take military action for 60 days.
If there's an imminent threat,
and there is no imminent threat. Let me be really clear about this. It's not my opinion. I sit on the Armed Services and the Intelligence Committee. If there are imminent threats, they have an obligation to tell us about it. I have seen no imminent threat. And even people within the administration have denied that there's an imminent threat.
Yeah. People in the administration have said, I don't see an imminent threat. I don't see one at all, including Ted Cruz, of all people. Here you go.
Believe that there was an ongoing nuclear weapons program. One of the top arms control experts out there, David Albright, has written there should be an immediate priority on rapid response operations to secure Iran's nuclear stockpiles right now. Can you assure the public that it will be secured? And if so, who is doing it if there are no Israeli or U.S. forces on the ground?
So there is no doubt that a year ago, Iran had an active and ongoing nuclear weapons program. We took out the vast majority of that.
Oh, no, Ted. No, Ted. Ted. No. The words were, it's like a password. The password is obliterated. Not that we took out chunks of it. It was obliterated, Ted. Okay.
At the end of the 12-day war, where
that
Israel
U.S. intelligence assessment was not made public, if that is what was briefed to you.
We took out, we launched targeted bombs at the end of the 12-day war, where we dropped the equivalent of about a third of a nuclear weapon on those underground facilities like Fordo, which is built into the base of a mountain. The bunker buster bombs we used, Israel doesn't have those bombs. No other country has those bombs. We took them out last year. The Iranians were still hell-bent on rebuilding them. And one of the things we are doing right now is taking out their missiles, in particular, the southern missile belt. Right now, Iran is building roughly 100 missiles a month. They're actively building missiles to threaten their neighbors. And
they're firing some of them right now at their neighbors.
Yeah,
at our allies.
They're illustrating powerfully. They're attacking virtually every Arab neighbor that surrounds them. They are firing missiles that it's almost like they want to illustrate to the world just how malign they are.
But in terms of containing the risk, who's securing the nuclear material that you say still exists within Iran? Who's doing that?
Look, the quantity of nuclear material, I didn't say anything one way or another on that. What I said is they were building nuclear weapons a year ago, and our bombing took that out. They also had an ongoing desire to rebuild them. I don't have present-day intelligence on what progress they had made towards rebuilding nuclear weapons since we bombed their facilities. I have no indication that they were anywhere close to getting nuclear weapons because our bombing was devastating.
Really?
And Margaret, that's one of the reasons I urged President Trump, now is the time.
Really? Well, that's really interesting, isn't it, Ted? Considering which side of this argument are you going to choose to be on? Because we've got Steve Witkoff saying that they were a week away just last week, 2 weeks ago. Just a week away. You're now saying, this is the quote, I have no indication they were anywhere near close to getting nuclear weapons. That's pretty wild. This is Lindsey Graham on the same topic. What side is he on, you think?
Sunday, President Trump wrote this, quote, hopefully the IRGC and police will peacefully merge with the Iranian patriots and work together as a unit to bring back the country to the greatness it deserves. Is hope the plan for the future of Iran?
No, the future of Iran is going to be determined by the Iranian people. The new Iran, whatever it is, whether it's a cleric or a representative democracy, our goal is to make sure it cannot become, again, the largest state sponsor of terrorism. That's a win for us.
But is there a plan to make sure that happens, Senator? Is there a plan? Does the president have a plan to guarantee that that happens?
No, it's not his job or my job to do this. How many times do I have to tell you?
What?
Our job is to make sure Iran is no longer the largest state sponsor of terrorism, to help the people reconstruct a new government, no boots on the ground. We don't own, you know this idea, you break it, you own it? I don't buy that one bit.
Okay. Got it. Back to the War Powers Resolution, now that we've set the context there. The law was enacted in 1973 following the Vietnam War when Congress felt it had lost control over decisions about war. Congress passed a resolution over the veto of President Nixon, signaling a major effort to reassert congressional authority. The U.S. Constitution makes it very clear and divides powers. Congress declares war and funds the military. President serves as commander-in-chief. War Powers Resolution tries to balance those two roles. What's required? President must notify Congress. Number one, first step. The president sends U.S. forces into hostilities or imminent hostilities. They must notify Congress within 48 hours. This includes situations such as combat ops, which we're doing, deployments into dangerous military zones, which we're doing, and then action where fighting is likely, which we're also doing. All three of those things check the boxes. Then the 60-day clock starts. Once troops are introduced, the president has 60 days to obtain congressional authorization for a declaration of war. There is an additional 30-day withdrawal period to safely remove forces, so effectively the maximum is about 90 days. Congress can pass legislation directing the president to remove forces if it does not approve the conflict. Here's the exceptions. The president can act without prior approval if there is a national emergency. Nope. An attack on the United States? Nope. And an attack on U.S. armed forces. That happened after the fact. He's in violation of the law once again. Many presidents from both parties argue the law unconstitutionally limits the commander-in-chief's powers. Since 1973, presidents have sometimes notified Congress but claimed the law doesn't legally bind them, conducted military actions after shorter than 60 days, and then, I agree, Kipper, and then relied on existing authorizations for the use of military force, or AUMF. I want to go back to what Jason Crow said again, because this covers what we just discussed.
Because he bypassed Congress. The accountability
a president has the right to take military action for 60 days.
If there's an imminent threat. And there is no imminent threat. Let me be
that
really
might be
clear
your
about
opinion.
this. It's not my
your
opinion. I sit on the Armed Services and the Intelligence Committee. If there are imminent threats, they have an obligation to tell us about it. I have seen no imminent threat. And even people within the administration have denied that there's an imminent threat.
So I told you I was going to wear it today. I told you.
You did. Thank you so much. It looks so great on you. And I love that you got the black one. Matt has the purple one. And I did something for Matt because, well, his people, his community, because he said he's going to do what he said he was going to do. And you did what you said you're going to do. So like, oh my gosh, so awesome. So if I could have like 30 seconds to promo and oh my God.
You can have a lot more than that. Take as long as you need, friend. Go for it. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you so much, Steve. Thank you. Hey, y'all. So if you use code FACTS, so that's FACTS at the EricaEffect.com, all right, until midnight tomorrow, all right, you get 15% off your orders. So you too can have a Do All the Good Things tee, just like Facts has, or you can get yourself a Do All the Good Things hoodie, or I am smarter than a Trump supporter mug. So, yeah, that's
a low bar. It's a low bar, but.
Oh my God! But you're still smarter than a Trump supporter, all right? You can
That's true.
You can drink from your mug, at Easter dinner, all right, when your nana is talking that crazy talk, or you can have it just at work when your boss is in your office and you know what you know. So I don't know, just like show it off. But yeah, EricaEffect.com. So Erica EFFECT.com. All right. And get 15% off using code FACTS. That's FACTS. All right. I know because you're not using Studio. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a liberty, and if you want to yell at me later, do it. But mods, Go ahead and do something for me. Put it in the Discord. Put it in the Discord. Y'all are awesome.
They will do that. They'll do that.
I am so thankful. Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate your support. Like, seriously, I have to get to your website and take a look. I'm likely going to end up with a mug or a T-shirt, something that I can display because I always support my friends. But oh my gosh! Also, Steve, make sure the Fun and Fact Show is today after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We always say after because Hector and I, it's Hector's fault. Blame him. He can never start on time. I tell you.
Well, I'm not gonna get in between. I'm not gonna pick sides in that fight for sure. Although you know when I donate to you guys when you're on the show, because your labor ain't free. You tend to get a little bit more from me when the time comes. So I'm curious about your perspective on what happened yesterday. We're getting a lot of discussion about the Tellerico Crockett race. Any thoughts that you wanted to share? Maybe you haven't digested it all yet, or what are you thinking? Or anything else that might be on your mind?
I was in my feelings last night when I talked to Matt and a few other people about it. I was in my feelings. I still kind of am. Okay, so here's what I will say, all right? And I want to preface this with that Tellerico is the candidate, all right? The goal is to beat Cornyn because we already know that Cornyn's going to be the nominee. So what we need to do is still, like, if you're in Texas, I'm not in Texas, but if you are in Texas, all right, and you lean to the left or you're independent, like, and you're not going, and you're not a party line Republican, go out and vote for Tellerico. Just vote for Tellerico. Like, make sure that, you do the good things and that we get Cornyn out of there. Like, hasn't he been there long enough? Get something new. With that being said, I will just say that it's just indicative of the United States of America. Like, we love when Jasmine speaks up and speaks out against this administration, when she advocates for more progressive policies, and when she is like the face of the anti-Trump campaign. People eat it up. They love it. You go, girl, but as soon as it's time to stand behind her and make sure that she can be in a position to, impact change, then what ends up happening is that, we get let down. It's just indicative of the United States of America. We want Black women to, of course, be the voice, be the face, but we don't get the support. So I'm a bit disappointed. However, I'm still like, you're in Texas, vote for Tellerico. Vote for Tellerico. All right. That's all I got, Steve.
Yeah, because like we talk about this, it's bigger than just this election. It's about the Supreme Court, right, Erica? It's about getting changes done to the structure. Perhaps getting Citizens United overturned. Perhaps it's getting laws about redistricting, and maybe DC becomes a state. It's bigger than just that election. People have got to think bigger. I know you do. You talk about that a lot as well. I just want people to remember what's at stake here, right?
Yeah, it's your vote is very consequential, and we have to think long run. I know people, from what I've heard, people were like, some people said they didn't like the campaign. Some people said that they didn't like the campaign that she ran because she did an attack act against Tellerico. But also people said that he was a unifier, right? That he's a unifier. And I think it's crazy that people are on the right are talking about unification, right? When they still support, a president and then also his cronies who are so divisive. It's like, what? How are you wanting it both ways? How are you wanting it both ways? And again, I'm not gonna speak negatively about Tellerico. I won't do it. Because I really do think, I understand that our what we say does matter. And so I'm just gonna say, if you're on the fence, you're not sure, vote for Tellerico. Do your research. Please do your research. The Supreme Court is so extremely important. It's so important, Steve, because they already have the majority in the Supreme Court, bro. And if they are able to get 2 more seats, then What did?
I know.
Hundreds of years, guys. We have, I'm sorry. We still have court precedent in place that impacts us from a century ago. What's his name? 1898. The American citizen who was born here, Wong Kim Ark. Kim Ark still impacts us to this day. So think about that, guys. Just think about it.
Thank you for that. Want to do one more plug for the Erica effect so people can get it? I know our mods have already posted it in the Discord, so there you go.
Oh, y'all are so awesome. Thank you so very much. You have some great mods. I can't say the best because then my mods will do a mutiny. So you have some great mods. You have some great mods. But with that being said, yes, guys, thank you so much, Steve. If you like a shirt just like Facts has, do all the good things. It comes in an array of colors. All right, so check it out at the ericaeffect.com. You get 15% off until midnight tomorrow. So actually that's midnight going into Friday, just so we can be clear. Use code FACTS for 15% off, FACTS. And I just want to thank you all so very much. I know someone did go already and make a purchase, so I appreciate you. Oh, it was you. It was B-Nut. Awesome. B-Nut, thank you so very much for that. I appreciate you, love. And guys, just keep doing all the good things. And by doing all the good things, that means choosing kindness. Being supportive, being vocal, speaking up, all right, and just making the right decisions. All right. So again,
I appreciate you.
Of course.
Yeah, the fun and facts show today, 2:30, whenever Hector shows up. 2:30.
Yes, whenever Hector shows up. Mm-hmm.
Got it. I love you, friend. Thanks for being here.
I
appreciate you very
more.
much.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Steve. All right. Bye. You got it. Bye. Awesome. Thank you, Erica. Learned so much from Erica and from Hector, and they're going to be on the Fun and Facts show. Sorry, brother, not my words, hers. Take it up with her. I'm not gonna get between the two of you. I love you both. You know that. Before we wrap today, thank you, Sam, for sharing this. This is Becca Ballant. Becca is my representative, she's great. I'm very lucky to be represented in Congress by Becca Ballant and then Peter Welch and Bernie Sanders in the Senate. She left her briefing last night. She was part of the same briefing for the situation in the Middle East, and here are her words.
I just left a classified briefing on the war in Iran, and I can tell you that what I heard did not give me any confidence that there was an imminent threat to the United States or our interests, and that should always be the measure by which we decide whether to send our troops in harm's way. We've already lost 6 of our soldiers, and we don't even know why it was that this attack was called for. We deserve to know, not just as members of Congress, but the American people. We deserve to know.
Yep, I think that's safe to say. All right, we're going to wrap there for today, friends. I want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you, mods. Thank you, Erica, for joining. Thank you all of our amazing guests. Again, please do whatever feelings support you based on what happened last night in Texas. But remember, there's still good news. Roy Cooper, very likely to be the next senator from the state of North Carolina. You've got down ballot races that happen. We're flipping seats here and there. These are all things that are incredibly important. Howard Nutlick will be dragged in front of Congress to testify because his name is in the files as well. That's going to happen. Don't know when exactly, likely next week or soon thereafter. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Please go rate our friend Hi. Lots of dots and lots of eyes. Emma, tell her we said hello. Mods, you guys are awesome. Smartest chat on TikTok. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, friends. Until then, there's